You can bang on your wall.
All right, well, bang it again. Come on, guys, I'll bang it again. There we go. Welcome, everybody. I now call this meeting to order of the Wiseburn Unified School District Board of Directors meeting for February 24th, 2022. Thank you all for joining us. Welcome to everybody on this screen. We actually have a new member I'll talk about in just a moment. Thank you also to our community, our educators, our staff, and of course, the volunteer board members, one of whom will be joining us tonight. Rebecca Hamburg-Cappy, great to have you with us, our newest soon-to-be appointed board member. Good to have you with us again. Tonight is our regularly scheduled board meeting. We do have two special presentations, one on LCAP MidYear Report from Dr. Harbach and a balanced literacy presentation from our TOSAs. I'm going to ask for a motion to adopt the agenda, but with two amendments. First, to move item 4.1, the Pledge of Allegiance, right after the adoption of the agenda, which is our standard practice and just fell out of order. And then secondarily, moving item 9.1, leaving 9.1 where it is for the deliberation and voting, but the presentation on safe school plans right after our special presentation 4.4, in the interest of just allowing all the presenters to present and then they can leave for the evening. With your approval, I need a motion, please.
You have a motion with that recommendation.
Thank you, Nelson.
I'll second, and I appreciate you doing that. I wondered why that other presentation was way to end.
Yeah, thank you very much. Ms. Ubaki, a vote on our agenda, please.
Mr. Van-Willis?
Aye.
Dr. Goldman?
Aye.
Ms. Canetta?
Aye.
Mr. Martinez?
Aye.
And that's probably the last vote we're going to have without a fifth. So hang in there. We'll now move to the flag salute. Dr. Harbach, if you'd be so kind. Thank you.
Please stand. Hand on your heart. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Harbach. Well, now we move to a very exciting part of our meeting, item 3.1, which is the swearing in of our provisional board member, Rebecca Hamburg-Cappy. And Rebecca, at this time, if you would raise your right hand, and you'll need your sound on, and I will read you the oath, and I'll try to do this in parts because it's hard to remember. So repeat after me with respective responses. I state your name.
I, Rebecca Hamburg-Cappy,
Do solemnly swear and affirm
do solemnly swear and affirm
that I will support and defend
that I will support and defend
the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California
the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California,
to the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California,
that I take this obligation freely
that I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion,
without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well and faithfully discharge
and that I will well and faithfully discharge
the duties of the office that I am about to enter.
the duties of the office that I am about to enter.
Congratulations, Rebecca Hamburg-Cappy. You are a new provisional board member. Welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome to share any thoughts at this time if you'd like, but certainly no requirement.
Just thank you to everyone that was involved in the selection process. I'm very much looking forward to serving in this role. It's been my privilege and honor to be supportive of the community in a variety of other roles to date, most recently with the Wiseburn Education Foundation. And I'm sad to leave them behind to take on this role, but I'm looking forward to continuing to work with all of them in this new capacity, and just grateful for the opportunity, as I said, to serve the community. So thank you for having me.
Thank you. Welcome. Any board members wish to say, or you certainly can do so in your open comments.
Well, just welcome, Rebecca. Thank you for volunteering. Thank you for putting your hand up again. Really looking forward to working with you on the board. It's going to be a lot of decisions, a lot of discussions, a lot of good actions for our community. Thank you.
I also want to just take the opportunity to welcome you, Rebecca, and I look forward to working with you as well.
Congratulations, Rebecca. Thank you for volunteering, and I certainly look forward to the future and serving together with you on the Wiseburn board. May you find this experience as rich and rewarding as I have, because it truly is a unique opportunity with a lot of responsibility, but a lot of great satisfaction in seeing and being a part of our community and making decisions for our students. It's an incredible opportunity that I've always enjoyed, and I certainly wish you the best in this role. And I think I say this for our entire board. Please feel free to reach out to any of us for any support or questions or anything that you may have. We'd like to be very collaborative and inclusive in our conversation. So know that you count on us as your support as well, and colleagues. So thank you, and look forward to serving with you on the board.
Indeed. Welcome, Rebecca. Any final thoughts, you bet?
No, thank you very much. And I know you will probably see some little interrupters. I have interns that work in my house named Rowan and Killian. So occasionally they will interrupt. But I'm grateful to be here and to be doing this with all of you. So thank you.
Well, again, welcome. And we'll now move on as you a voting member. So let's move to section 3, public comments 3.2. But before we do, as we always do, we review our share your thoughts comments that are shared by those who share on our website. And to just do a brief recap, the themes that emerged in the past couple of weeks include candidate support letters, talking about the real excellence of our candidates. We'll talk more about that in a bit in my comments. And the reminder to all of us from a teacher that when we are communicating about changes in mask or any COVID policy, that we ensure that we give them a heads up so they're able to execute on our behalf. And that was a good reminder to us. So now we'll turn to public comments. A reminder by board bylaws 9323, individual speakers are allowed 3 minutes with a 20-minute max total. You'll be given 3 minutes on the screen and a red 30-second warning, at which point we ask you to wrap up. You welcome your comments. Ms. Subaki, do we have folks here to comment?
Let me check. I do have a comment. Could we please bring over Miss Ann Tittle? Hi, Ann.
Hi, everybody. Good evening.
Ann?
Thanks for letting me pop in here for a moment. I wanted to, on behalf of the Wiseburn Education Foundation Board of Directors, congratulate Rebecca Hamburg-Cappy on her appointment to the Wiseburn Unified District School District Board. And we want to thank Rebecca for her 5+ years of service to the Wiseburn community as a Wiseburn Education Foundation board member. Rebecca has served on our board in many different capacities and has bailed us out of hot water on a couple of different occasions. She has tirelessly led us through strategic planning and has helped us meet the challenges of the COVID-19 pandemic, all while raising her 2 young children as a working mom. And I think so many of us know that that is no small feat. We simply could not have made it through these past few years without you, Rebecca, and we wouldn't have wanted to try. Rebecca, we're going to miss you, and we are so glad that you are still willing to help us as we approach, drum roll please, Rock Around the Block, which I'm going to shamelessly plug. It's back on Saturday, April 30th at Dana Middle School. And if people are interested, check out our WEF social media and our website at wiseburnedfoundation.org to find out more about Rock Around the Block happening Saturday, April 30th at Dana Middle School. Rebecca, this is such a win for WEF and such a win for Wiseburn. I'm so happy for you. Congratulations. And thank you for letting me share tonight.
Thank you, Ann, and thank you for the role you play in the innumerable, endless contributions you make, not only at WEF, but to our district overall. You and your team at WEF, losing Rebecca, but the rest of you are remarkable human beings, as is Rebecca, of course, and we thank you for your great work. Thank you for your time tonight.
Thanks, Ann.
Ms.
Okay.
Shabaki.
Are there any other public comments? I do not have any other public comments at this time.
All right. Well, thank you very much. We'll move, continuing in our agenda to item 4.3, special presentation on the LCAP mid-year report. I don't know Dr. Silvers or Dr. Harbach who's taking the lead, but I will turn it to you.
I'll turn it over to you, Eileen. Thank
All
you.
right. We do have a slide deck tonight. I'm just going to ask Wendy to bring that up. Thank you, Wendy. Why don't we go ahead? This is our mid-year review of the LCAP, the Local Control Accountability Plan. And this is part of an Assembly Bill 130 that does require all local educational agencies, of which we are one, to present a mid-year update on the annual update. The annual update isn't due until June, but we are asked to do this mid-year on the LCAP to include an overview of finance and our actions and metrics. And we're to do that before February 28th. So we're doing it tonight at the board meeting. This is new this year, by the way. We haven't been asked to do this before. And it really stems from the fact that so much of what's happened in the past 2 years has relied on not just the LCAP, but how we are using federal funds and state funds to support the LCAP goals. As you know, over the last few years, we've received, as have all LEAs, funding from the American Rescue Plan, which includes ESSER 1, 2, and 3, the Governor's Emergency Relief Fund, and we've also received state funding, of which we've brought plans to the board, had them approved, and they are posted on our website. So a lot going on there. And if you look at the plan that's going to be posted online, this mid-year update, it does speak to all of this. And it also speaks to how we've talked to our educational partners in collaboration. And we've also worked to make sure that everything's aligned to our goals. So our mid-year updates, Wendy, we'll just go one more. There we are. Just a reminder that, one more, please. So just a quick overview. No, go back one. So sorry. Thanks, Wendy. Just a quick recap, a snapshot of our LCAP. Our LCAP reflects our assurances here in the district with 5 goals: safety, our whole child, future ready, community and collaboration, and organizational strength. We also speak to stakeholder engagement, and we include a budget overview for parents, better known as the BOP. Go to the next one. And there are our assurances, and the way we like to go over these, and I won't read them to you, but they do align to the 8 priorities of our state. So that's our conditions of learning, our pupil outcomes, and engagement. We've made sure that our assurances our goals do align to all of that. So tonight, when we go through, we look at both our metrics, how we measure our goals, and actions that we take to support those goals. And as we are at the mid-year, it's just a snapshot. So we're going to have some of those metrics are really unknown at this point. For instance, CASP scores, those happen at the end of the year. Some are in progress and some are known. For our first goal, and that is safety, we have at the very top your metrics on where we stand with most of our metrics are listed there. And safety is number 1 for us. We really look at this as an important goal. We are close, if you look at the very bottom, to spending about half of the money that we've dedicated to this goal at midpoint. And you'll see that pretty much for all of our goals as we go through. So the metrics here are focused on improving school climate and maximizing safety for our students and our teachers. We look at, I want to point out there, we have a survey that we give our 5th and 7th graders, our California Healthy Kids, or CHK survey. And this survey does ask students to talk about their feelings about being safe at school. So we take that metric very seriously along the way. For our actions, we look at infrastructure, how we train our staff for safety. And one thing I want to point out here is that we are fully staffed for elementary assistant principals at all of our sites through the LCAP. And that's a huge plus for our students to have another adult on campus to work with. Our second goal is whole child. This is really where we have almost most of our actions. It's really a large goal for us. It's measures, we go through measures here looking at our reading, our math data. Again, the California Healthy Kids Survey, here we look at academic motivation. Do students feel social and emotional learning supports throughout their day? And that survey again comes up. You'll see it a couple of times in our metrics. And we look at how our materials are aligned to standards, making sure that we do have academic supports for our students through our materials. In the actions, we have so much going on here. We have data that we provide to our teachers, our PBS program. We have our class size reduction in grade 3. And school counseling service, very important here. Again, another area where we've been able to boost our staffing and provide more supports to our children. And down at the very bottom, then again, we're about halfway through our spending. Goal 3 is our future ready. How do we prepare our students for the future and making sure that they understand their own abilities and their own strengths? We look at our dashboard for this with our CAS data. We also look if kids are coming to school, do they feel positive about being here? And we look at our English learners. This is where that goal is super important. One thing that we look at is how are we doing with our English learners? Are we able to reclassify them or take them? Are they ready to matriculate out of that program and still succeed in our schools? So these are called RFEPs. And in 2021, our RFEP, or our graduation rate, really from the EL program, was at 23.2%. That's much higher than what we thought. We had a 19% goal there and we exceeded it. So we feel that we're doing very well in the program and that our English learners are future ready as they proceed through that. As you look at the actions, again, there's our English language development program. This provides funding for staff and for aides. We have staff professional learning opportunities, our technology programs. And I want to point out here, we have the district teachers on special science for balanced literacy. You hear a lot about Writers Workshop, but it's part of a larger program called Balanced Literacy, where we have children balanced in terms of their reading and their writing. And we're going to hear from that later on tonight. We also have a science TOSA, you know about that. Again, we're about halfway through our spending. Goal 4 has is our diversity, equity, and inclusion goal, our community and collaboration. This, we have a lot of this is in progress. We have a survey going specifically to our English learner student families. And we also look at how our communication analytics are going. What's our website traffic? Are we getting social media metrics from their analytics? We also look at our district communications, our newsletters. Are we keeping track and are we getting input from our stakeholders? And that has to do with our LCAP survey, our parent conference rate last year, very high even during distance learning, 97%. So we're very, that's right about where we have our expectations. We have a real high metric on that one. Actions, systems of accountability, that's our data again. We offer translation services, and we this year have hired a diversity, equity, and inclusion coordinator with Dr. Ingram. Big plus for our district. And I'll go to the last slide here on our final goal. This is our organizational strength and how we focus on our financial stability and how we're keeping our entire district and our schools very strong. We look at our ADA, our kids coming to school. What's our attendance rate? Are we absent? Again, our chronic absenteeism, very important. And are we maintaining our school site budgets? We do look at, as this goal is a little bit shorter on our actions, it has a kind of a broad scope, our accounting and auditing systems, our work order systems, our ed tech supports, our IT department, and then our student enrollment. Are we maintaining enrollment? Are we marketing and offering our parents many opportunities to enroll in our schools? So that's a little bit less on the funding, but again, about halfway. So in a snapshot or to sum it up, you can see on the left there, those are LCAP, that's our total expenses. We have about 13 million remarked upon in our LCAP. On the right is what we get in supplemental. Supplemental is funding that's specific to our unduplicated pupil population, which includes families identified as low income and our English learners and foster children, our foster youth. So that supplemental funding, which really is identified in the LCAP specifically, is about $1.6 million. So I want to thank the finance office for their support in putting together this part of the report, and also Sarah Nitzos, who has maintained focus on our metrics all the way through. So you see that we have out of our just over 31, almost $32 million budget, just over 18 million is remarked upon overall. is not included, I'm sorry, in the LCAP. And that would be for some salaries and maintenance of our buildings and that sort of expense. So one more slide, Wendy.
Can I ask you a question
Yes.
before you leave the slide? The supplemental funding, is that in addition to the 13,535.3?
No, it's part of it.
It's part of it. Okay,
Yes, good
thank you.
question. Thank you. And my last slide, I just want to thank, you know, I want to thank everyone who's been involved in this last year and keeping the LCAP alive and going. You know, despite, it says right there, despite these challenges over the returning to school this year with all that was going on, implementing health and safety protocols and how we address the needs of our students and the impact of distance learning. We carried on. The LCAP is in good shape. It's being adhered to. Our metrics are standing strong. Our actions are standing strong. So I feel it's just all based on resilience. And I also want to point out at the very bottom there, if you go on the Wiseburn Unified website, all of our plans for the state funding are there. And I invite, of course, anyone to go and take a look. The LCAP is there as well. And that concludes our mid-year report. And I want to thank you for your time.
Dr. Goldman, can I just add, I just want to thank Eileen for putting this together. I mean, it's a lot of work, and Sarah for putting together such a comprehensive document and really trying to live into the assurances so that everything is going down the same path, right? We're all sort of rowing in the same direction. So I want to thank Eileen for that work, and Sarah and those people that were involved. So it's our community, but it's a lot of hard work too behind it. Thank you.
I would like to echo what Dr. Silvers just said, but Dr. Harbach, you managed to put together presentations that are so succinct and so informative. You managed to get all that information across to us. I think it was like 10 minutes. Your slides are supportive of the information you present, and I totally understand, you know, I'm able to understand at least what you said. And I really want to compliment you on that and compliment you on the progress with the LCAP as well as the team, as Dr. Silver said. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Harbach. Appreciate the presentation and the outline of the LCAP budget there. So thank you very much for that, all that work.
Comment, Dr. Silvers, if I may, is I know you are, and I'm very excited that you are developing a dashboard of kind of ongoing metrics. I'm making the assumption that many of the outcomes from this work, Healthy Kids Survey, CASP, you know, et cetera, are in that dashboard. I know it's in development, looking forward to seeing that, but this is what Dr. Harbach has put together here with the team is a great substance for that dashboard. I don't know if you want to comment on that.
Sure, I can comment. I think that we did work in tandem on this, you know, in terms of pulling those metrics out of LCAP, using that as a guide for us. Obviously, that way we can use LCAP as our strategic plan. I mean, it's really what it is. You know, it's a strategic plan. And I think Dr. Goldman, we've talked about this for many years. I am very, very close. I have to say, I'm actually really excited to show you the dashboard. So it's pretty much ready for it's ready for you to look at, Dr. Goldman. I'm getting there. I'm just sorry we haven't been able to get it to you. So I will look forward to when we have an opportunity to connect on that.
I knew it was coming, so that's
close. It's close enough to show you at this point. So right, I would say let's try and maybe schedule some time to meet on that.
Super exciting. Go ahead.
Well, I do have one question. Dr. Harbach, could you just remind folks what the process has been to gather the information, especially from the community, about the LCAP this year? Absolutely. and what that might look like going forward?
Mm-hmm. So each year, thank you, Rebecca, Ms. Hamper. I have to remember. Each year, we start by surveying our parents. We do that in January. And I go out and meet with each of the PTA groups to see if they have any questions, to review the LCAP, our goals, our actions, see if they have any input. Just today, we met with the ASB officers over at Dana to get their very, very astute input. And we also work with an LCAP committee, volunteers who come of parents. We call them now educational partners instead of stakeholders. We have representation from our DLAC. We presented our DLAC, which is our District English Language Acquisition Committee of parents. We also survey our DLAC committee separately. And we have finally, we bring it all together. We make sure that at our LCAP committee that we do have representation from the SELPA, which is our partner with special education. So we feel that it's a huge wraparound effort to make sure that we have the voices of everyone. The survey, I'll be frank with you, we'd like to see more input on that. So we are making that a goal for the future.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you all. Thank you very much, Dr. Harbach. We'll now move to our next presentation, 4.4, special presentation on balanced literacy. And Dr. Silvers, if you'd cue this up, please.
Sure. I'm going to actually pass this off to Dr. Harbach as well, but I'm really excited to hear the presentation today. I have not yet seen it, so I'm really excited to hear it today.
You know, there's just so much to say about this, but I'll try and be succinct. We had the gift of bringing on 2 teachers on special assignment this year, Lori Carriaga and Alanya Thompson, who are really have masterminded a beautiful implementation of an initiative that would allow all of our students to embrace writing as something that they not only look forward to, but they love doing. So I'm going to leave it to them to talk about it. We also just want to shout out to Tricia Mano, who's being supported by the Coatson Foundation for 2 years to work at 138th Street. And she is working with a cohort of 7 teachers on the exact same program. So we have really every single one of our elementary schools engaged with Writers Workshop. It's aligned by grade level. And I think it's the first time in Weisburn's history that we're going to see our students, no matter what school they're going to, receiving instruction that is aligned and that makes sense. But Lori and Alanya, just welcome, and I'll stop talking and let you take it.
Good evening. Good evening, board, Dr. Silvers and the cabinet. Thank you for having us. Today I'm talking about my favorite subject, Writers Workshop, and I'm going to talk about our growth. So when I think of our growth, I think of a quote from Helen Keller, which is, "Alone we can do so little, but together we can do so much." And this is so true with the success that we've had in Writers Workshop, TK5. And I just want to start by commending the teachers, the principals, and for all of you for helping us get this up and running. When I think about our growth, I think of first is the consistency. We have a model that we have implemented that works. And for the first time, our district has been aligned with each grade level in writing and across district. Also, teachers have established a block time regularly for Writers Workshop. And then the TOSAs have supported staff through the coaching process, and then Alanya will expand on this. And every week, we also meet with teachers in TCT, where we talk about instruction and teaching points. And as a result, also some teachers are grasping and transferring big, Writers Workshop concepts, such as mini lessons, analyzing data, conferencing. And also, when I think about the practices that have contributed to this implementation progress it's really checking in with each teacher regularly. Just like we know that the best practice for students is to meet them where they're at. As TOSAs, we meet teachers where they're at. And as a result, not only have they grown in their practice in 6 months, they're doing it. They're really implementing it. And I just have the utmost respect for the teachers at Weisburn. Their hard work doesn't go unnoticed. And then as a result, the students they're not just surviving, but they're thriving in reading and writing. So it's so exciting, so exciting. Another thing is Guiding Coalition. Guiding Coalition has helped TOSAs in assisting TCT and planning next steps. And one thing that's happening that's really exciting is peer observations, where an entire grade level will observe each other and will script the lessons out and really learn from each other. And now I'm going to pass the mic to Alanya.
Thank you, Lori, and thank you all for having us on. I'm going to talk a little bit about teacher collaboration time, or TCT for short. This is a designated time set aside each week during school hours where teachers within their grade level have a common planning time. So their students are out they're out at PE at this time. And what we do is this is a time that teachers are collaborative, they're strategic and intentional, not only in the development of their lessons, but also in the implementation of their lessons. So this time allows teachers to align and strengthen their writing lessons. It allows teachers to analyze their own students' work to determine the next steps. And we also collaborate on what our coaching time will look like, whether it's I'm modeling a lesson or we're co-teaching a lesson. Our coaching model is designed to provide positive feedback and support throughout the writer's workshop process. And like Lori had mentioned, we work with every teacher and his or her students regularly to assist in the implementation of the writing lessons through either modeling or co-teaching. We also on selected Wednesdays provide professional development. That's on Wednesdays from 3 to 4 that focuses on writer's workshop. We meet with the principals regularly. We meet with each other, Lori and I, and Trisha. And we regularly meet with Momentum for professional development to assist us with coaching and give us valuable information. So as a result, this program has really built enthusiasm for writing amongst the students and teachers. And the students are really beginning to see themselves as authors and illustrators. And it's lovely. It's so lovely to see that they're so excited. So yeah, thank you.
And so lastly, we wanted to show you through a video the work that we've been helping teachers and students implement. Thank you, Wendy.
I want to be a writer. I like how like every day I get to write something different than the other, and how I'm like writing stuff that I've never like written about before. Like I've never written an informational writing piece or a narrative.
I like Writer's Workshop, and if it's a personal narrative, you could write about things that went on in your life and big things.
Taking the balanced literacy approach to enhance student learning has been great for our students. Through Writer's Workshop, our students get to pick their own topics, do their own research, and reflect on their own writing.
We've been so grateful to have Writers Workshop for all of our teachers for the first time this year at Cabrillo. We're seeing such an increase in collaboration. We're happy to see that students across the district and all the way from TK through 8th will be on the same writing trajectory. And we've seen just so much growth from our student writers, and we're celebrating all the time and just so excited for them.
I like writing because I like sharing my books with people. I love writing!
Along with the teacher collaboration and students having the opportunity to share their voice and choice in their writing, the celebration has been my favorite part. Students get an opportunity to share their writing in their voice. And through their voice, we can hear their passion in their writing and the stories they all have within that they want to share with us.
Well, thank you both. Thank you all. We have a saying here at Wiseburn to engage, empower, and elevate. Thank you for bringing us back to that. Thank you for bringing us back to the enthusiasm and the passion of learning. What an inspiring moment. You guys have been long doing that in our district as TOSAs this year. So much appreciation for you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for bringing the kids to the board meeting with you. That's really much appreciated. Thank you very much. And the teachers and principal, of course, but we love to see the children. Thank you.
Yeah, I'd like to thank you, both of you as well. Thank you so much for your energy and passion towards the balanced literacy. Really, really appreciate all of your hard work. Thank you to all of our teachers, and for sure on the video. I really enjoyed seeing the kids and their comments, right, in the recordings. Thank you for integrating them into your presentation. Thank you very much.
I just want to echo the same comments that Joanne and Roger and Neil expressed as well. Thank you for the work that you do. Obviously, it's a joy to see the kids on that video, and I am very excited about the alignment that's taking place from K to 8. So thank you for that.
Thank you. We work with some really amazing teachers who can make it happen, and some really amazing students. So thank you.
And I've got two little guys that are going through the program with you. So we're really, I see it every day with you guys, and you've done such a wonderful job. Even for those kids who writing isn't their preferred activity, I think the program that you guys have has really helped bring them along. And so thank you for all that you're doing. And I'm excited to see the growth of the kids through the program.
Ms. Cariaga, Ms. Thompson, great work. Thank you very much. Very much.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Well, that's fun. That's just really joyous stuff, and good work to the team. We'll now, based on our amended agenda, move to school safety, safe school plans rather. And I think Mr. Cornett's going to come. Dr. Silvers, if you would lead us.
Sure, I think we'll bring Kevin Cornett over, Mr. Cornett from Dana, and the one adjunct duty that the middle school assistant principal gets is they get to be in charge of safety in the district, and so I think we have a great representative of Wiseburn and of Dana and of safety, and Mr. Cornett. Certainly, this is a document that's really, really important, and sometimes sometimes it's just done in a way that we just try and meet deadlines and all of that. Not we in Wiseburn, of course, but at points it could be done quickly. But the time and care and energy that Kevin has put into this, that the team has put into this, really aligns with our goal and our assurance of safety. To really maintain that safe space for kids, for families, for on a site level, at the site level, and in the programs that we offer. So I'll turn it over to Mr. Cornett to share a brief update and presentation of the safe school plans.
All right, great. Thank you, Dr. Silvers. Good evening, everybody, school board and cabinet. Great job, Lori and Alanya. That's really a tough act to follow. So as passionate as they are towards student reading and writing, I'm equally as passionate about student safety here at Wiseburn, and that's why I'm excited to present tonight. And I'm not just presenting on behalf of Dana, I am presenting on behalf of our amazing APs at our elementary sites and also our amazing principal Tammy at SLC. and all things related to the safety plans that we recently completed and submitted, and also dive a little deeper into our safety measures that are in place and that we're always working towards here in Wiseburn. So we're going to cover the what and the why. So if you could, there we go. Thanks, Wendy. For based on California Ed Code, essentially every school in California is required to develop, maintain a comprehensive school safety plan. We have this plan to address campus risks, prepare for emergencies, and essentially just create a safe, secure learning environment for all of our students and our staff on our school sites. So some of these strategies, they aim at the prevention and the education of potential incidents such as crime, violence on the school campus, also aspects of social, emotional, and physical safety for both youth and adults. And once we get into the specifics of what some of these protocols look like, we'll truly be highlighting the connection between student social, emotional safety and what that looks like as far as our physical safety here on campus. Based on Ed Code, the process of designing and submitting and updating and submitting a safety plan every year is a systematic process that involves a variety of stakeholders. The plan consists of these, among many other things within it: emergencies, natural disasters, hate crimes, violence, active assailants, intruders, bullying, cyberbullying, discrimination, child abuse, bomb threats, neglect, discipline, mandated reporter, suspensions, expulsions, discipline, and the list goes on and on. But those are just some of the major components that every school site plan is required to have. In addition to what's required, every school site then differentiates and adds their own unique data and analysis to the plan that will consist of student attendance data, student discipline data, mentioned before, data perhaps from the Healthy Kids survey. It could be data from an anti-bullying survey that went out. So that's just the site-specific data that's added to each site's plan on top of what we basically have standardized across all of our school sites. And then you can see our 5 pillars there. As our district pillars, we prioritize safety for all of our stakeholders on campus, especially with the pandemic and still seeing just a lot of kids and everybody struggling as a result of the pandemic. You know, this is clearly our #1 priority, just making sure everybody feels safe and can be their best when they're part of our school district. So this is the process of what goes into a comprehensive school site safety plan each year. A lot of the work is done in the summer, of course, and this is done by the APs over the summer because we need to have all of these policies and protocols in place before students set foot on our campus. Throughout the year, something that has been great this year is we've had a monthly afternoon meeting with all assistant principals where we can collaborate, learn from each other, problem solve, work on our safety plans, identify challenges that we're having. And this has been ongoing and under the mentorship of Kim Jones, one of our district administrators. So that's been a really positive process this year to have all of us together on a weekly basis to support each other and also to contribute to these plans. That ensures consistency across our school sites, of course. Recently, we had each school site had a school site council meeting and were required to present the highlights of that plan and the findings to that plan to our school site council members. After that, we host a public hearing for the community that's promoted through the district, where community stakeholders, community members can pop in on a Zoom. In the past, it was in person to ask questions, give feedback, and just provide input to make our plans ensure it has the voice of our community members. And then just recently, we had those school site council meetings, we had the presentations, we had the public hearing. The school sites have their plans signed off by their principal, and then we submit those plans to the district for final approval. Note that these plans are not publicly available on websites like the school combat report cards and the SIPSAs are, and this is due to operational security of not having much of our plan out there. However, we do accept appointments. Should anybody want to come in person on our school, they can just set up an appointment through our main office, and we'd be happy to review those plans and answer any questions in person. So what I have all described is the actual document, the how, the why, the when, and as Blake mentioned, it's a massive document. It's about, probably 130 pages, single space, Google document. But what's really important isn't the document itself, it's how we're using our safety plans to keep our school sites safe and constantly making changes and improvements to improve. So ongoing safety measures, feel free to chime in on if you have specifics on more of these. I'll try and keep a brief overview as brief as possible. I'll also have a slide once I'm done going through these that will have all of them up there together. So ongoing safety measures, every summer before the start of school, every Wiseburn employee is required to take a number of online certifications that could consist of active shooter training, bloodborne pathogens, sexual harassment, mandated reporter. So that's something that's always been in place and that will continue to be in place. Our safety drills, emergency preparedness, it's a huge amount of work that goes in over the summer to that we're prepared in the event that we have any sort of natural disaster or massive earthquake. We are required by EDCO to have one earthquake drill a year, which is done in the California Great Shakeout in October. Also required to have 2 fire evacuation drills each year and 2 lockdown or shelter in place drills as a minimum. And for our sites, we're trying to do a drill a month to exceed that, just to keep everybody aware of our drills. We do routine site walks with our facilities team, just to identify any physical safety hazards, and also using that as an opportunity to see what sort of supports our facilities might need as far as repairs. All of our school sites rely on a restorative discipline approach. And that's very supportive and helpful in reducing safety or discipline issues from happening again. And I'll talk quite a bit about counseling services on the next slide, but knowing that that has always been and will continue to be a part of all of our school safety plans and also a part of our discipline. GoGuardian, for those of you that don't know, that's an online software that our district uses at all of our school sites for 2 purposes. The primary purpose is administrators and counselors get an alert anytime a student who's signed in with their Wiseburn email address. So if they're on a Chromebook on site, if they're at home on a school Chromebook, if they're using their Google address anywhere, we can get an alert for explicit content viewing or word searches, and separately from that, self-harm. So if a student is to type, "How do I kill myself?" or "How many Tylenol does it take to die?" we will all get an alert via email so that our counseling team or our school psychologist or an administrator, whoever gets that email first, can ensure the immediate safety of the student and then follow up if it's offsite with a self-harm or threat to others assessment as soon as possible. The second component of GoGuardian is more for the upper grades where students are on Chromebooks for a lot of their time on campus, and that's GoGuardian Classroom. That's where a teacher can see all 32 of their kids' computer screens on their personal computer to monitor online activity. And then lastly, we all know COVID-19 has been a huge focus for our safety of keeping everybody safe. Shout out to Dr. Dougal. Everything that we created and updated in the plan this year came from our district's COVID-19 responses, which is located on the district's website under the COVID-19 dashboard. So for this past year, we had a number of improvements and additions to enhance school safety and to support students and staff coming back from what's been just, obviously a really tough year of distance and hybrid learning and the effects of the pandemic. The counseling has been a huge priority with the elementary schools and the care team. It was the addition of a 3rd counselor and then strategically assigning each counselor a focus, which include family counseling, mental health for students, and group counseling. For Dana, we recently hired a 3rd full-time counselor to support our nearly 1,000 students. That's been an absolute game changer for us in just the 1 month that we've been lucky to have Mr. Perlman on board with our team. As Dr. Harbach mentioned earlier, we now have an AP at every school site whose one of their primary missions is school site safety. And also wanted to throw elementary P up there under the leadership of Coach Shackstad, getting those kids out there to support their physical, mental, and social wellness all goes into safety and school culture. As far as second step, this is a tier 1 intervention that is now in place for all grade levels K through 8. Every student in Wiseburn receives a social emotional lesson to support their social emotional development in their school sites. Next is caresolace.org. This is a nonprofit we've used prior to this year, but we are really using it heavily this year. It's a nonprofit. They consider themselves a concierge for mental health. Essentially, if a family is in need or staff member is in need of any sort of mental health, Care Solace will eliminate a lot of the bureaucracy and the red tape that one might find through their insurance provider, and within 24 hours complete an intake, and typically within days provide mental health resources within the community that will work with that person's insurance, or potentially work outside of somebody's insurance. Ed Handbook is an online software system that some schools have been using for a very long time, but now all schools are using. In short, it's an online tool to log discipline data and referrals, and to allow schools to use that data to support students and to change and tweak safety measures on campus specific to student discipline. And then lastly, just recently, Dr. Ingram led all district administrators and counselors and psychologists through a new standardized operating procedure for completing threat to others assessments with students, and also self-harm assessments with students. We've always had these protocols in place, but now really we have a standardized way to do it and how to communicate it to district leadership, and what results after these assessments are completed as far as communication and follow-up. And then lastly, we're always, of course, looking for ways to improve. And as we're constantly analyzing our data and getting input from our stakeholders, we're finding areas where we can do better. So a few of those items that we've identified is just across all sites to improve on over the course of the next year. First off would just be physical site security. In the event that we get additional funding down the road, a bond measure perhaps, security cameras would be a major need for a lot of the school sites, just in terms of replacing the very outdated cameras, replacing the coax cables, and moving to a new software that's modern, and also adding cameras to some areas on campus where they might be needed. In terms of the second step curriculum, that's the social emotional learning curriculum. A lot of the district planning time that the administrators have been utilizing in our how-to network, specifically the last one, was all geared towards how can we take second step and not just treat it as this is the student's once a week lesson. How can we really promote it, perhaps through an assembly at the beginning of the week, and how can we get the lesson and the theme for that week into the actual curriculum so that it truly flows and becomes immersed in a student's learning throughout the week. And then lastly, we'd love to get some of the partnerships we used to have and create new partnerships with community nonprofits to support our families. This could be workshops, training seminars. We are realizing that a lot of folks are struggling right now, and we want to do everything we can to just work as a team and support families at home, which will in turn support our students here on campus. So the next slide just shows you all those bullets from the last 3 slides together, which would just wrap it up with any questions, comments, and concerns.
Kevin, I just wanted to thank you for taking the leadership on this program. To me, safety is really the first pillar. It starts with providing a safe environment for students, staff, and school community. It's a lot of work that goes into these plans. I had an opportunity to read through those 150 plus pages almost on each respective site. And it's not only the plans, but the implementation that goes to it. It is why our school, I think, is ranked number 1 and 2 in LA County as safest schools. So that's a testament to you and to everybody involved in making that happen and providing a safe environment for our children. I also wanted to highlight a few things that I read in the plan, and I just want to make sure we're going through the facilities master plan update. And I read among all the sites that I think we have a serious need in the entry area. I guess looking to redesign. So I want to make sure. I'm not sure if that was incorporated in the original master plan, but since we're going through an update, I want to make sure that is incorporated in the update that we're going through right now. And then I really appreciated the uniqueness that you talked about with each respective site. I noticed that ANZA is looking to implement a readers and runners program to provide a safe environment for students that arrive early to school. I think that's great. I've seen that utilized at Redondo Beach Unified School District, and it's gone really well. So just appreciate all the hard work, the uniqueness that's going into it. I know that every school site has a kind of a positive behavior program, if you will. I think ANZA uses SOAR. I know Dana does Pride, and Burnett, I think, uses BEST and so forth. So I appreciate that. Those are all things that I think encourage that safe environment for our students. But I just want to thank you for your leadership again, and thank everybody that was involved in having a hand in the development and implementation of this plan on a daily basis. So thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, you know, building on what Nelson just said, I think, Kevin, as we all feel this way, thank you very much for the plan, and thank you for being so passionate about the topic. I think something you said is so important, and that is that we're approaching safety as a culture. I think that's really key, because it takes the pillars that we have identified and really uses our standards. It takes it into real life, and it takes it into something that we do every day. It becomes part of what we do. We watch out for ourselves, we watch out for each other. And we know that if there is something that is a threat, the students know that if there is bullying, that if there is an unknown person on campus, or if there is an emergency, that the culture in which they find themselves is designed to keep them safe and allow them to speak up if they need to, or want to, or have to, that's okay, that we have a culture of safety. And I really respect that, and I appreciate that that's what you're doing as you write this plan. The plan's alive, the plan's for people. And it is a culture, and it is a behavior, and it is part of who we are in Weisburn. Thank you very much.
Any other board comments?
Just one comment. So thank you, Kevin, for Mr. Cornett, for that presentation. It was interesting. I had been on the Cabrillo School Site Council before I took this role, so I got a little bit of a preview of what was there. And I know one of the things that came up in those conversations was about the positive behavior intervention system sort of overall, and this implementation of second step and what might be sort of the next phase. And I'm wondering if you can talk a little bit more about the positive behavior supports that are available at the campuses, and what needs might be there sort of going forward.
Yeah, absolutely. I could talk all night about what that looks like at Dana. And I can talk a little bit about what's going on in elementary. I do know, so all of us APs, we're currently in a credentialing program with PB Lead, and each of us, as a part of that 2-year program with your credential, requires you to have a problem of practice. It's basically your pet, it's your project, and it's something that you use to track your growth as an administrator. And I know for all 3 of our elementary APs who are in their first year right now, creating and enhancing a PBIS program on their sites is their problem of practice. So it's something I know that they're putting a ton of work into right now. It does look different at each school site, and also with each grade level. You know, at Dana, it's our merit market. It's our students earning merits for Pride. It's a lot, and it could be assemblies. It could be, it could be a number of things. I don't have the specifics for each elementary as far as what their PBI sets look like, but I do know they're working relentlessly right now to build those programs and improve those programs that they have, again, to just support the culture of their schools, because we know when there's a positive culture, we have less behavior. When there's a positive culture, kids extend the values they're learning outside of school. So I wish I had some more specifics for you, but I do know it's a #1 priority right now, and I'm excited to see what comes of it here in the near future.
Thank you.
Well, again, Kevin, thank you very much. You know, we've talked tonight about our safety pillar, and that's of course driving this, but another pillar is community and collaboration. And the obvious collaboration that all the schools and the APs and the various people involved did is evident. Thank you for the cohesion as well as the individuality. So well done. We very much appreciate it. Thank you for your presentation.
All right. Thank you. Have a great night.
You bet.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin.
That will be item 9.1 later in our agenda where action will be taken, but we wanted to have the presentation at this time. So now we'll move to section 5 on information, which is our opportunity for board and cabinet members to share their issues and things on their mind. So why don't we start first with our Vice President, Mr. Nelson Martinez.
Thank you, Neil. So first of all, again, I just want to take an opportunity to congratulate Rebecca to the board. Like I mentioned, I look forward to working with you. And I think Roger said it best in terms of, you know, when I first was appointed and thought, you know, what I brought to the board in terms of my contributions, as you probably are thinking in terms of what you bring to the board. One thing that I never realized was how rewarding serving would be. And so, you know, I think that you're going to find this such a rewarding experience. So again, just welcome, and I look forward to working with you. I just had a few comments tonight, Neil. I wanted to share with everyone that the Da Vinci soccer team is in the finals. They won their last game in the semifinals, and they will be playing in the finals. I think it's the furthest that probably a Da Vinci athletic team has gone. So they will be playing this Saturday at 5:00 p.m. against Montclair at the El Segundo field, the stadium, because it's actually, we had the opportunity to host, and it has to take place at a stadium. And that was the nearest stadium. So they'll be playing at El Segundo this Saturday. Very exciting. The team has been amazing. So if you have time to go watch them and support them, it's this Saturday at 5:00. So I just wanted to share that with everybody. It's truly been exciting to see this journey of this soccer team. And obviously I have a strong interest because my son is on that soccer team. So the other thing along the line of athletics is I'd like to, and I talked to Blake about this, and I'd like to work through Blake and see how we can do this. But I have a proposal that we do not have a booster club for our athletic program. And so I would like to propose that we develop a Wiseburn Unified School District Booster Club that will support our athletic programs for such events as banquets. It'll also support, you know, clothing attire for the kids, or any kind of sporting equipment and bags that they may need for the sports programs, because they are prohibited from using athletic funds for that. So it has to be some kind of booster club. So I would like to propose that we consider starting a Wiseburn Unified School District Booster Club to support our athletic programs. And possibly that can grow more into also some of our other programs besides athletics that are, I guess you would consider maybe possibly music and arts, but definitely want to consider doing that. And I don't know how to go about that, but I'll work with Blake through that. And that's all I had tonight.
Well, Nelson, too, I can just maybe clarify I know, thank you for sharing. And I know we had a conversation about the Booster Club, and I do want to share too, and maybe Rebecca, you can share also. I know WEF was really interested in starting some sort of booster program for the sports, you know, for sports and so forth. And so I just want to, maybe I can start there and have a conversation with Ann and Debbie and Rebecca, and we can figure out how to move that forward and support our sports program. So definitely interested and excited to be able to do that. So our kiddos don't have to pay for everything. You know, we can provide some things through fundraising. So thank you.
Absolutely. And I think you'll have my support, Blake, for sure.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you, Nelson. Appreciate it. Ms. Canetta, let's turn to you.
Sure. Hi, everyone. We're all happy to have Rebecca join us, it was fairly poignant to me during her swearing in this evening, when she agreed, and we've all agreed to do this, to support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of California. And I didn't want this evening to go by without a little moment about what's going on in our world this evening and last night and today. And it is important to support our Constitution, both of them, California as well as the United States. And appears that there are threats to those constitutions going on around us. And I offer, I don't know what we can do as individuals, or I think as a nation, we're putting plans together certainly to do something in the way of sanctions and so on. But we have a real life bullying situation going on in the world, and we have a real life opportunity to do something about it. I know Mr. Cornett had a safety plan that he put before us, and we are going to approve this evening. It's so well written and so well done, crafted well. But on a larger level, we have a national safety plan that we need to be concerned about too. And I'm shocked and outraged at the aggression that we've seen on a peaceful country, a peaceful nation. And people have been killed. People have sacrificed their lives for their nation in the last 24 hours. And it is, I don't even have words to describe it, I guess. I'm outraged and sad and disappointed and furious, all those things. So I'm proud of our district for I walked out of my house this morning and the sun was out, there was no wind, there was kids going to school, people going to work, and it was a thing of beauty. And there are people in this world who don't have that. I'm grateful for what we have. I'm grateful that we're able to influence our own community by participating in the board and by being part of our community in a positive way. So I guess I want to thank everybody who's here tonight, who's on this meeting, and our community members who are going about their lives. And know that we do take seriously upholding these constitutions. And in our way, we contribute to the betterment of our community and our country. So anyway, it's hard to sort of go to sort of everyday matters from what's been going on today, but we do that. And I love Nelson's comment and suggestion about a booster club. I will also put my hand up and say that I would like to participate in whatever way we do that. And it's about a year ago now that we were planning to come back to school from being at distance learning for months. And take a moment to think about that we've come through another Omicron, another COVID experience, and we came through that well. And our district has done a really good job. Our administration has done a great job of pulling us through and keeping us whole. So thanks for that. A year went by and we're doing great. I think Dr. Harbach showed in our plan, in our LCAP, that we succeeded. We made progress. We came through that with education intact and our community intact. So congratulations for that. I'm going to be quiet because I'm very nostalgic this evening and I'm very concerned about our country and the world. And I'm glad to be working with all of you. And welcome, Rebecca.
Thank you, Joanne. Powerful and thoughtful words. Mr. Banuelos, we'll turn to you.
Yes, thank you, Neil. Again, Rebecca, welcome to officially, right, to the Wiseman Unified School District Board as a trustee. So pleasure, and look forward to serving with you. I also have a couple of comments that I just wanted to share. I would actually like to thank all of our candidates that took such a great interest in the application. We had a fantastic pool of candidates. I'd like to thank Miss Jessica Doherty, Miss Maria Flores Acosta, Miss Molly Nelman, and Mr. Dawson Bruckman. I truly appreciated the process that we went through and the interviews, and really hearing their thoughts and their visions on education and how they could contribute to the Wiseburn Unified School District. I would like to say that everybody had a wonderful theme arose in terms of putting our students first, which is really nice to see with all of our candidates, right? I truly look forward to seeing if there's an opportunity to engage our other candidates, and just other opportunities to hopefully volunteer in other areas or committees. Please bring that energy and enthusiasm. We'd welcome it as well. In terms of participation in our school, I think it could only make our community and our district better. And really wanted to say thank you to each of the candidates for applying. It's wonderful to see and get to meet some folks for the first time, right? And see their interest and passion for our school district and their community as well that we all serve. So thank you for that. And I do have a couple of other comments, but they're on the agenda, so I'm going to reserve them for when those items come up. Thank you, Neil. That's all I have today.
Thank you, Roger. Ms. Hamburg, your opportunity.
Thank you. So thank you all for the kind welcome. I am, as I said before, very much looking forward to serving with all of you in this capacity and serving the district in this role. And very excited about doing that. I did in my application for the board, I listed a couple of areas that I thought were priorities. So I just thought I'd share those with folks who didn't have a chance to see that for me. So the first thing that I think is a priority for the district is providing that individual student-centered education for all of our students, especially those with special needs. I think Ms. Mazzarella will appreciate that there. She and I have had a number of conversations before I took on this role, and I'm very much looking forward to working on those issues as we continue in that, as I was the SELPA rep for the district previously. So that's certainly an area that I'm very passionate about. And then, and my second one is about making sure that we have fully articulated and integrated K through 12 education programming in the district, and helping to resolve some of the relationship issues that I've seen from across the grade levels, but especially serving the students that go to our high schools. And then finally ensuring that the district has the fundraising and development capacity to provide a high quality public education to our students. And I'm very much looking forward to collaborating with the folks in the district about ways that we can expand that. I know I've already been talking to Dr. Silvers about potential grant writers for some opportunities that may be out there, and very much looking forward to bringing those things to the district and in this role going forward. So to Dr. Silver's point about WEF and the booster clubs, one of WEF's pillars is about healthy lifestyles. And I think that figuring out how to better support our athletic programs through WEF or otherwise certainly makes a lot of sense in that capacity. So I look forward to those conversations. And to Ms. Kaneda's point about what's happening in large district, we're preparing our students to be part of that world. And I've got two little guys, and my family, I have family history from the Ukraine. So from previous times when things like this have happened there. So it very much resonates with me, and the need for us to be thinking beyond just what's happening at home, but how we prepare us to be part of the world. So thank you for welcoming me, and I look forward to working with all of you.
Blake, please make sure, are you keeping track of how many subcommittees did Rebecca just sign up for?
Welcome aboard.
Welcome, Rebecca.
she may get WEF before the night is through, given her background and experience. So we'll see. So again, Rebecca, let me share my thoughts again. Thank you. Congratulations. You bring a complementary expertise and knowledge to the board, which is terrific, because all of us bring a particular level of expertise and experience, and you complement and add to us very well. So thank you again for coming in. I want to also echo Roger's comments. I too was going to point out the excellent other candidates who all were inspiring. Roger named them. You were all impressive. Your interviews were impressive. Your applications were impressive. You're already very largely involved, and we encourage you to continue doing so as you add so much to our district. So thank you very much. Also want to piggyback on Joanne's comments. I did want to send prayers and thoughts and a moment for the people and the leadership of Ukraine. God bless them all. May this pass, and may we be able to do something to impact in positive ways their situation. I feel your pain, Joanne. It's hard to put this in perspective, and it does make you gulp and pause. As to the LCAP, I wanted to again thank you, Dr. Harbach. As you all know, one of my passions is financial education, and in my professional work, I do focus groups with parents around the country. And I've asked this question repeatedly: which is more important, a college education or a financial education? And I'm always consistently now not surprised to find that a financial education is never subordinate to a college education in parents' minds. It's often equal to, and sometimes higher than, a college education. And I feel like our future ready pathway and assurance would ask us to build more financial education in that process. And to that point, I mentioned this to Dr. Silvers earlier, one thing we did before the pandemic that was universally well received was with our partners in Connecta, the Bite of Reality program at Dana for 8th graders, who got a chance to have a simulation of living, owning a home, owning a car, living their life. And it was really powerful and impactful. And research has shown that actually can impact them for decades in understanding financial management. So I would encourage us to, again, now that we're easing back from the pandemic, to explore that again if we have that opportunity. I want to do a shout out to the Da Vinci board, thank them for engaging in the joint board meeting we had last week and the opportunity to connect. Have had the opportunity and reached out to many of their board members, met just this week with Ray Santiago and Joe Weber, and to thank them for their engagement. Very impressed with them as individuals and optimistic about the partnership moving forward. Finally, I would like Dr. Silvers, if we can coordinate reinstill our campus visits. I would like to do that as quickly as possible and encourage any of our board members to join in that, time permitting. And that concludes my comments. At this point, we'll move on in our agenda to the Director of Psychological Services, Ms. Mazzarella. Did you have comments tonight?
Just something real quick to share, and I wanted to congratulate Ms. Hamburg-Cappy on her appointment. Congratulations. Welcome. Just quickly, on the March 4th Professional Development Day, I just wanted to share that we will be providing training for the unique learning systems, which is a very specific or specialized tier 3 curriculum that is for our most unique learners who have IEPs. We did begin to implement it back in 2019, and then we have the pandemic. We've lost some staff since then, and so it's a revisit for some, and it's a it's a new training for others. And so we will be doing that on Friday the 4th. And that is all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Mazzarella. I know you typically deal in very confidential matters. We always appreciate the opportunity when you get to share with us, because we know you're doing so many important things for us. So thank you very much.
Because I do feel like I would like to share, but obviously there are things I can't. So thank you.
You bet. Dr. Dougal, our Assistant Superintendent of Human Resources, let's turn to you.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone, and welcome, Ms. Hamburg-Cappy. Looking forward to a continued partnership and working with you on the board as well. So welcome. COVID update, California Department of Public Health has confirmed that on Monday, February 28th, they will be making an announcement in regards to new mitigation strategies, including potentially the removal or the requirement of masks indoors at school sites. This does not mean on the 28th, there will be no masks indoors. It's just they're going to be making an announcement of what those metrics will be and a anticipated timeline of when that may happen. LA Department of Public Health has said that they will quickly align with the California Department of Public Health guidelines. And so, soon the ball will be rolling, and we know that this directly impacts Weisburn's protocols and safety protocols on our campuses. And so to our staff and to our parents, we will keep everyone informed, and we'll be publishing timelines and such in the near future once we get more information from both the California Department of Public Health and the LA County Department of Public Health. So that's it.
Thank you, Dr. Dougal. A question, if I may, on the testing. Is that still going on, and at what pace?
Yeah, so testing is still continuing. We have testing 4 days a week, Tuesdays and Thursdays at Dana from 12 to 6:30, Mondays at Anza, and then Wednesdays at Cabrillo. Our testing numbers have declined steadily a little bit over the last couple of weeks. There's a couple reasons though, is that we did have, those that have tested positive, it is not recommended that they test within a 90-day time frame. And so we do have less students and staff testing because they may have tested positive in the last 90 days. And obviously with the availability of more and more at-home test kits, I think parents and families have found other means of quickly getting results as well. But testing is still open and available at no cost for our students and staff.
Terrific. Thank you very much.
Dr. Goldman, can I just add one more? I'm sorry, Joanne. Go.
Oh, no, sorry. I just, I know we have later in our agenda, we have a report on the CSEA, some of the different job descriptions that were studied and were amended. Are you going to talk to us then about that report? Or you don't have a presentation about that, I guess?
I can do both. I do have a presentation that I can share.
Oh,
I can do that now or during the.
No, during that time is great. Thank you. I just wanted to be sure we had something tonight. Thanks.
Yes.
Dr. Dougal or Dr. Goldman, I just wanted to get a little, I just wanted to clarify too, as we start looking, one of our concerns, obviously, and I'm sure most is the spring break. And so we actually do have time now to plan. I mean, prior to, I guess it was during winter break, it came really quickly. Numbers were steady for a while, and then all of a sudden we saw that spike right as we were approaching winter break. So just not enough time to gather resources. Unfortunately, testing was limited at that moment, at that time. Take-home tests or at-home kits were limited as well. But we did get a cache of tests, and we are looking to have all students test. So I don't know, Dr. Dougal, do you just want to share quickly on what our plans are for spring break?
Sure. So prior to returning from spring break, we are going to be looking at sending at-home test kits to our students and staff, and that having them test before returning back to campus. And that's really to capture anyone in lower transmission rates when we do return from spring break. So we are working on a plan. We do have the resources available to ensure that every student and staff member is given a minimum of 2 tests to take home. So we are working on and devising a plan of how we would be sending those out and looking at results.
Okay.
I just have one more question for Dr. Dougal. Anecdotally, it just feels like I've gotten more notices recently from my kids' schools about testing. Like it felt like we weren't getting them for a while, and now we're getting them. Have you guys noticed any increase since the masks came off outdoors at all?
We have had a couple more cases this week than we had in the last 2 weeks, and that may or may not be related directly to masking. But yes, we have had additional cases this week alone.
Thank you.
And the message we've all been sharing is we do want to make sure we're adhering to DPH protocols. If masks are available to be removed, that we have that option. And that we also allow people to feel safe in a culture that allows them to keep them on should they wish to do so. So just making all options available and supporting students and the parents and the teachers as the way they want to play. All right. Dr. Harbach, our Assistant Super of Ed Services, I noticed you're not on here. I know you've made presentations. Do you wish to add anything else?
No, I'm just going to pass tonight. Thank you.
All right, you bet. Received. Dr. Silvers, our superintendent, turn to you.
Sure, Dr. Goldman, I do want to just reiterate, what you said. I find it very important to share that, we have been given direction from this board. We presented to this board, several times over the course of the last 2 years about following of LADPH guidelines. And, we do continue to monitor those regularly. We understand that there's people that may feel comfortable with masks on and those that feel more comfortable with them off. And as soon as that becomes a viable possibility for families to choose, that we would offer that opportunity for families to choose. Again, keeping in mind that we know some people may feel uncomfortable taking their masks off, and also feeling comfortable teaching students how to be responsible citizens and not sort of target students who are wearing a mask, because you know, we have adults, we have students, we have families that just need to wear masks, you know, because of other underlying conditions. So wanted to reiterate that. I also want to share too that, you know, as we do watch the news, and we're at sort of this inflection point in history, you know, I think a lot of us probably remember these moments in time when you know, when these things happen, when events like what we're seeing today, obviously not the same event, but events that were such important and tragic events in history that, you know, we understand students are coming to school with, and having watched TV, having heard parents, and that fear and anxiety does translate itself to school. So I just urge our community, I urge our staff, our administrators to really be on the lookout for those students that are coming to school, and being sure that we're addressing the social emotional needs of our students and our staff. So you know, these are challenging times, you know, and we're getting a lot of information. It's information overload, you know, so it's really trying to weigh that. So just want to reiterate that. I also want to share a special thank you to Dr. Ingram for her work honoring Black History Month, and you know, providing activities for us to work on at the district office, providing activities and support for our school sites. But you know, honoring such an important part of our history, and an important part of the school year and the year in general, for us to recognize those that contributed. You know, our Black families, the history of the Black people in America. And all that they've contributed to our society. And Dr. Ingram has just such a wonderful job of sharing this, of spreading out the, you know, just the celebration of the Black community. So thank you, Monique, for doing that. Really been a nice addition to our school district, so school district practices. And I want to look too at you know, the board today. We had a really wonderful presentation from our balanced literacy TOSAs, and what we saw was this focus back on kids. And I heard from the board, it was nice to see, you know, kids again. And oftentimes, you know, especially in Zoom, we just don't get these opportunities as much as we'd like to. And especially, you know, with the pandemic, even as an administration, we just can't visit school sites as comfortably as much as we want to, you know. So it's really nice to see students. And, you know, one thing that we've talked about a lot as a cabinet is shifting away from this major focus that's been on COVID, which we still need to do, obviously, you know, I mean, it's very, very important, but centering ourselves on what we're here for, you know, teaching and learning for our students, providing opportunities for staff to collaborate and to learn and to teach. All of these opportunities are really important. So I do want to, you know, my hat's off to Dr. Harbach. I have asked that the Ed Services Department, so she's mad at me probably. No, I'm just kidding. But I have asked that the Ed Services Department do present at every board meeting on a topic of teaching and learning. So I hope to bring to this board something every meeting, even if it's just a short presentation, but something that we can that can capture teaching and learning. So. Definitely appreciate Eileen for doing that. And I know Peggy's going to be involved in this as well. But if the board members have any specific items that you'd like us to address or clarify or present on, by all means, you know, we'd be willing. Just feel free to reach out, you know, send me an email, and I'd be glad to bring those to the board.
Along those lines, Blake, I think Neil brought up a good topic, certainly is financial literacy, and the presentation this evening on you know, written literacy or sort of verbal literacy. You know, if you go through counseling ever in your life, you will be asked to journal. And that's exactly what our students are learning how to do in a very unthreatening, very supportive, very happy approach to journaling, to writing about their lives and themselves and the things around them. How wonderful is that? And I think getting back to the life skills, you know, that's kind of what we're talking about here. And I think if I have a request, it would be the same, to echo Neil's request, and that is to take sort of that need of financial literacy and bring that into our flow as we go forward too. Even to the young grades, I mean, they're learning math, they're learning arithmetic. It's all the same thing. You just put dollar signs in front. It makes sense. Anyway, thanks.
Yeah, thank you. You know, and sort of as we move into that, I mean, I did mention the balanced literacy presentation, and I just want to say that I was also very, very, you know, really overwhelmed with you know, happiness when you see students celebrating writing and being able to join 138th Street School and their celebrations of writing, and seeing it also at Anza and Cabrillo. It's just really been amazing. You know, unfortunately, I haven't been able to get to Dana yet, but I will. And it's just a really, really nice event. And the kids are, this writing is really remarkable. So I just want to share the level of writing that we're seeing out of our students is just really remarkable. So I also want to give a shout out, as our TOSAs shared today, to our teachers for all the hard work and dedication that you're putting into writing. So thank you for that. I also want to share a little bit about immersion. I brought this up. I think I missed it during my comments at the last meeting, but I do want to just sort of reiterate it today during my comments, is that the district is engaged in looking at and selecting a grant writer, or picking a grant writer to help us write a grant for the Dual Language Immersion Grant, DLIG. We have another acronym that we're going to have to remember, but this is a grant that's put on by the California Department of Education. It's the first large grant related to language acquisition, really dual language acquisition, that has been around since the FLAP grants of the 2000s. So we are seeing this shift towards world languages, and want to get on that boat. You know, I think it's a really, really good wave to ride. Very, very important to brain development and to the future development and education of our students. So looking forward to writing that grant, and sort of win, lose, or draw that grant. I think we have some conversations to have about dual language immersion and language acquisition. So looking forward not only to the grant, but also to this further conversation. So just excited about that. I also want to just say one last piece, which is you know, a thank you to Erica Corder, she's not on today, I don't think, but she's helped WEF. I mean, I noticed that the Wiseburn Ed Foundation utilized Erica. She works on our communications platform, and WEF has used her for some of their work, which was really nice as we're working towards Rock Around the Block and advertising that. You know, but, you know, behind the scenes, our website design, messages that are going out to our community, to our staff, you know, again, just our updated protocols on the website and videos, et cetera. It's just so much that Erica has brought to the team as it relates to communications. And I think that one of the conversations that we had recently was, the last time we did a survey of our community on communications, there were people that said we give too much information. And that was not something that we received about a year ago, or a year and a half, or whatever it was. So I just want to say my hat's off, you know, to the people working behind the scenes that are quietly really making a difference in our district. So I'll end with that and thank everybody for their time tonight. And congratulations, Rebecca. We'll look forward to working with you as well.
All right, thank you, Dr. Silvers. We're going to turn it back to you here in just a sec. We'll move now to our discussion. Yes. Go ahead.
If I may, I did have one follow-up for Dr. Silvers. At our last board meeting, we had a fantastic presentation. We're speaking about seeing students. Dylan Booth made a great presentation on 138th Street and the lunch meals program. I'd like just to follow up to request that presentation. I found it incredibly engaging, and he's so passionate and articulate with regards to that. So that I'd like for us to follow up. I'd like to obtain a copy of that presentation, see how we can support that moving forward, because it's one thing in terms of making a presentation, then the next steps is implementation. I'd like to see how we can support such a great initiative. I'm a huge advocate of nutrition in our schools, as for whether high school all the way through elementary, and for someone at that age to take such a great initiative, I'd like to see how we can support that and see what some of our potential next steps could be. So if you could please follow up with that, I'd like to see Dylan's presentation and see where we go from there.
Sure, Roger. I will just say, just at a you know, sort of where we are now, is that Dylan did get a chance to meet with Michael Gangler from Chartwells and discuss his you know, his presentation with Michael. I will circle back and follow up too with Michael just to see. I know there were two items. One is the changing of the menu, and then also looking at some vegan options for kids as well. So we want to look at those options and be sure that our community's voices, particularly our kids, we had a couple of students that reached out to us that we're able to support them as best possible. So look forward to providing an update to the board.
Thank you. Thank you.
Sure.
Actually, to that point, that's really a good segue to section 6, discussion 6.1, the Da Vinci Schools and Joint Board Meeting Update and Next Steps. And in listening to the board meeting last night, it was mentioned there was a public comment about food at Da Vinci. And I believe Chartwell's is the provider there as well. So I don't know if there's a point in having joint conversations here just for efficiency. I certainly don't mandate that, but if that helps both organizations, of course, that's in our mutual interest. So let's turn to this conversation. I don't know if Dr. Silvers, you wanted to tee this up. I had some thoughts, but I'll turn to you to start.
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty simple for me, Dr. Goldman, so I would defer in some cases to you, but I know that at that board meeting, Brian Meath wisely did ask that we just agendize this topic regularly so that we can continue this conversation publicly about our relationship and be able to set some next steps. So one of those next steps was to work on this working groups and being able to get 2 members from this board to get together to discuss some of three major areas to start. We just felt these had a lot of breadth and depth to them. So to start with these 3, one being funding and finance, the other being governance, and then the third being arts and athletics. And so taking a look at those 3 major items, if we could somehow get 2 board members on this team to be able to discuss these items, that would be really, really helpful. And we'll match that up with 2 members from the Da Vinci board as well. We'll have a chance to talk to Matt and be able to kind of circle back with him maybe early next week to review.
Are you asking for volunteers now for these groups?
We could do it one of 2 ways, Nelson and Neil. I don't know how you want to do this. I think I'll defer to you, but I mean, I think we could do that, or I could also send out some sort of poll or.
Yeah, I think I'd like to I think Da Vinci set a nice lead of giving us a chance to contemplate this because we hadn't really talked about this together yet, of seeing what you might want to be involved in. I'd like that. These are really important roles. I'd like us to have a chance to give it some thought.
Are you looking for 2 for each of those committees, or I just wanted to clarify?
Yeah, I mean, me and Matt did go back and forth on this a little bit. If it wasn't Matt, I apologize. But I think governance, funding, and finance we may be able to merge those 2 so we don't sort of duplicate a lot. Those could collide at some point or rub at some point, and I think that we may want to just combine. That's just my recommendation. Certainly, with these 3 topics, if there's 2 board members, separate board members that want to join each one of them, that's fine too. But my recommendation would be to combine governance, funding, and finance to some degree. Dr. Goldman, I don't know if you're on board with that, or I know we didn't talk about that, but that's just.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm on board with that either.
Okay.
Yeah, but I'm on board. I don't know. I'm not rejecting it, but I want to.
No, I hear you.
That's a heavy. Both of those are heavy lifts, and I'm concerned about them independent. Combining them becomes a monumental lift. I do think, to Ms. Hamburg's comment, that we do want to have 2. We can't have more than 2 due to Brown Act violations, but I think it serves us well to have 2 on each committee so that we have representation and additional brains involved. So let's.
I'm interested in the arts and athletic, so I would certainly be interested in that. Obviously, I would look for my colleagues' support on that, but would be interested in that. And then when I meet with them, I'll let them know I would like Ray Santiago to join on the Da Vinci side. So I'll let him know that.
I think you just did. So there you go. All right.
I'm good with either governance or finance. Probably I could behave myself better on finance.
All right.
I would be happy to volunteer on the governance side.
I think Roger's probably better suited.
Yeah, and I may join you on that as well. But I think I want everybody to have a chance to think about that. I'd like us to get this committed in the next maybe 48 hours at most. So let's get them back in answers. Sure. Keep this moving forward. Also, to that point, one thought, and then I'll go back to you, Roger. To that point, one thing that also came from the meeting was the conversation about a meeting in May as our next joint board meeting. So Dr. Silvers, if you and Dr. Wonder could coordinate that, so we pick a date in May. And that kind of looks like at this point, potentially, ironically, a September, January, May schedule actually is 4 months apart and works pretty well. And that's kind of what we've fallen into. So I'd suggest that, welcome the board's conversation on that, at least as a starting point, more than twice a year, but 3 times a year moving forward.
I would agree. I think we
Yeah, it's good.
certainly need to communicate more.
I think, Neil, also coupled with all these subcommittees, potentially, because there's going to be several meetings in between, I think there's going to be a lot more connectivity and discussions and dialogue. And then by getting together 3 times a year, it really brings us together to discuss the work of the committee as a whole and together. So I like the spacing of it.
I like the spacing. I'm wondering if September would hold though, because it's such a busy month. If perhaps October might make more sense for the fall meeting, because by that time you're in session and you could bring things up that might be needed
I
for.
think I agree with you there, Joanne. I think that I think October might be a better month.
And maybe February, because January you're just getting back from. I think May's great, but I would like to think October and February are probably better.
I would
Anyway.
defer to Dr. I like these thoughts. I defer to Dr. Silvers and Dr. Wonder to work that out.
Sure.
Yeah.
We appreciate those too. The February and October sound very good for me. I'll talk to
That sound a lot better.
Perfect. Perfect. Also, again, to Roger's point, again, to the meetings that I had, I know Roger's had, and many of us have had additional meetings. I look forward to meeting individually with all the board members on Da Vinci and have a number of scheduled and continue to move this process forward. Any other thoughts or comments on this discussion item at this time?
Just to say that I'm happy to be put in where you need me on the committees. So.
Well, once again, it was decided, thank you. It was decided you would be on all 3 committees. So.
That's 3 on governance, Neil. So that's not true.
All right. Fair enough. Fair enough. I like that you push back. Good for you. All right. Let us move then to.
I can have some comments, Neil, on this.
Oh, you do. Thank you. Okay,
Yes.
Go ahead, Roger. You bet.
Yeah. I just wanted to share with everyone, we did have the joint board meeting last week with Da Vinci and Weisburn. That was on Tuesday, the 15th. We did discuss several topics. The 3 that Neil outlined for the subcommittees are the ones that are moving forward at this time. There are, of course, a lot of areas and topics to discuss, but I am very much looking forward to collaborating, working together on these subcommittees. I think it goes a long way in terms of just our overall dynamic and conversations and getting to know and working together with members of both boards, right? We do have several relatively new board members also appointed to the Da Vinci board, and we have 1 new board member as well here on the Weisburn side. So I think it lends for a nice opening collaboration and conversation, and enter into these conversations as we move forward. In the spirit of cooperation, knowing that this relationship has never been done before. I mean, there is no model, there's no template. And when we set up the initial understanding, the MOU, that must have been about 8 years ago, I want to say. I don't have the dates in front of me, but I want to say it's like 2015, I think was when we executed the MOU. And we made some assumptions, some thoughts, but we did develop a path forward. I think we're at a point right now where we need to revisit some of those items that may not be working as well on both sides and see where we can come to an agreement, choose to move forward. And if it doesn't work out in 3 years or 4 years in the implementation phase, again, keeping the dialogue going to revisit those things. I think it's always important because it is a living situation that we have, and our situations will always change. So I'm looking forward to participating on several of the committees as they come up. I did have an opportunity to meet with Joe Weber and Ray Santiago. I have I think next week. I'm also connecting with Raul Ochoa. Look forward to also connecting with some of the other board members as well. Just trying to, there's a lot of us, there's a lot of, just time commitment seems to be not our friend, right? We all have to but we have to start somewhere. And I like the fact that we're having the dialogue and the meetings and we're moving forward. So looking forward to the committee work.
Thank you, Roger. Appreciate your comments. Any others? All right. We will move from the discussion to district updates, and go back to you, Roger, at 7.1, the LACSA update, if you would.
Yes, I have one update on LACSTA. LACSTA, another acronym, the LA County School Trustees Association. That is comprised of about 80 or 82 school districts within LA County, and it's an association that meets about every 2 months. And they take on topics of education and everything K-12, if you will, and there's presenters as well. The leadership and the directors are all composed of current and sitting district trustees, and they currently have a call open for the executive board, all the executive board positions for president, vice president, secretary, treasurer, and 10 director positions that are open for volunteers. Applications are due on March 1st, which doesn't give a lot of time if you'd like to participate or put your name in the hat there. I did email it, I think last week or earlier this week, just if you're interested in one of those positions. And then once the applicants are all in, they will host elections on May 16th of this year. And then the new slate of leadership for that association will take effect shortly thereafter. So I will attend that election as a Wiseburn representative, and I will continue to keep our Wiseburn board posted on the topics that they bring up. And I will also share the topics as they come up. In case you're interested, you're also obviously welcome to attend. Some are Zoom, and I'm hoping that some are going to be in person in the future, so that we could also meet some colleagues and strengthen partnerships, relationships with other school districts throughout LA County. I'll keep our board up to speed on events that may come up with LACSTA.
Roger, you taking nominations now?
As long as it does not include me, yes.
I'd like to recommend Rebecca.
Oh, okay.
You know, some folks in our neighboring district have served on LACSA, and we give them a lot of kudos. The volunteering is already significant, and they're doing it above and beyond. So good for them.
It's a great organization. I've had the pleasure of serving as one of the directors as well. So, and I made a lot of great friends with that organization too. So
yeah.
Terrific. All right, then 7.2 WEF update. I'm going to defer to the former vice president of WEF, Ms. Hamburg, so you can give us an update, because you'll probably do it better than me.
I don't know about that, Neil. You do a pretty good job about this, and you certainly are attending the board meetings on behalf of the board. So WEF is, as Ann said, looking forward to Rock Around the Block on April 30th. And I know that they've started doing some light advertising. A save the date has gone out that's on their social media. And I think there'll be a video teaser coming out soon with information about how to buy tickets. And very exciting. I think it's exciting that it's going to be back in person. I think that's the big thing. Very excited about that. The last time we did that was in 2019. So it's been a while. It's kind of crazy. We did have that wonderful parade last year, but which I think was really awesome to see everybody come out and wave and stuff. But it'll be exciting to be back together and hear the kids perform. Looking forward to a variety. We now have full music from K through 12. So figuring out the music program is a challenge that I know is being tackled right now for how we're going to see all of those performances. But very exciting. And I know that they're also in the process of doing their board nominations and things like that for next year, figuring out their slate in the coming months. So I know they always welcome more volunteers and folks who are interested in joining them, but really looking forward to Rock Around the Block this year on April 30th.
Thank you very much. Let's move to our action items. Moving now to
Dr. Goldman.
Yes, sir.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. I'm just wondering, it's 7:50 now, and we have one of our presenters on one of our items is not in California, and I was hoping that maybe just as this agenda goes on, it's Tim Carty from Piper Sandler as it relates to the bond refunding potential. I would just like to see if we can move him over just to be able to address that item. so that he can do that. And then
I have no issue with that. Which item are we? I'm trying
so
to.
that is
11.1.
11.1.
Sure. Let's hear the presentation. We've already adopted the agenda, so I'm not sure we can change that. But let's hear the presentation. And then we will take it in turn on the voting.
Yeah, we could take the item at 11.1, but just yeah.
Let's just hear the presentation now. Tim, thank you very much for your hanging with us. We appreciate your time.
Okay, if we could slide over CART T02, please.
Thank you, Dr. Silvers.
Oh, thank you.
As Tim is coming on board to join us, this is again item 11.1, in which we are reviewing the idea of, I was using the term refinancing. I guess it's refunding the bonds of the past. Tim, nice to see you. Welcome.
Good evening, Mr. President, members of the board. It's nice to see everyone. And it is funny how the technical word is, quote, refunding, but it is a refinancing. It's just the odd nomenclature. So anyway, it's nice to see everyone. So maybe just as a little refresher, back at the January 20th meeting, the board authorized, district staff, Blake and his team, to work with us to initiate the process of proceeding with a potential general obligation bond refinancing. And we said, one of the next steps would be to have the legal counsel prepare a form of resolution and a form, and it is only the form, of a preliminary official statement, or what they call the offering document for the bonds. And that there would be other work that would need to be done, including securing the district's credit rating and those sorts of things, before we would be ready to go into the market. At that January 20th meeting, the board indicated, look, we only want to go forward with this if there are reasonable taxpayer savings. And we talked about having a target of perhaps $5 million, but that we would, revisit things in a month and see how things look. So the action item before you is the approval of the resolution and the approval of the form of the preliminary official statement. But we would still be probably, a month or so away from being able to go into the market. Obviously, with the change in personnel in the business office, there hasn't been a chance yet really to engage with the credit rating folks, and we'll talk to Blake and figure out the right approach to tackle that work. But the other thing I did want to share with you tonight is a little bit of a current market status report, because I know all of the members of the board are certainly interested in the market, and there's a lot going on, from the Russia-Ukraine situation to inflation, Federal Reserve actions, and so forth. So I just prepared 2 slides, keep it simple, in terms of the market update as we sit here on February 24th. So you saw this before. This is, again, the bellwether that investors look to when it comes to school bond refinancing, the 10-year United States Treasury note, 2-year horizon, ups and downs. Rates, on a historical basis, continue to be relatively low, but they have ticked upward in the last month since the January 20th, I think it was, board meeting. They have ticked upward a little bit. A lot of that is inflation driven. A lot of that is the expectation that the Federal Reserve will act decisively to try to restrain inflation. And some of it is just the international tension. So what does that mean in terms of the savings as we sit today, knowing that it changes day to day, and we're still probably, if we go forward, a month away from being able to access the marketplace? So that's the next slide. And if you remember, we've tried to look at, just to make it simple, 4 points in time. December 14th was what I shared with you last time. We happened to do a bond refi that day for an LA County school district. fairly similar size, fairly similar credit rating. January 13th, we had a conversation together. January 20th, we had a conversation together. Tonight's February 24th. Probably the middle row rather is the one that's most important. You know, the savings moves around. It's probably been between, you know, a high of 6 million in January, probably right around $4 million today. Now, if you look at the top row, remember, we don't have to refinance every bond that's eligible. So if you look at the top right cell in the that first row, if we happen to be in the market today, we would not go with the $49 million package that we would have gone with a month ago. And that's because as interest rates have risen, there's some of those old bonds that just don't save the taxpayers any money. So we'd actually have a smaller package if we were ready to go today. The resolution would authorize the large package, but again, we wouldn't effectuate that or activate that if there are some bonds that just don't save the taxpayers any money. So if we sat today, if we were literally in the market, we would only refinance about $27.5 million. We'd be at about $4 million in savings. The reason I show the bottom row, we talked a little bit about that last time. Sometimes government agencies look at a percentage, often 3%, 4%, 5%, sometimes is a bare minimum that certain government agencies will look toward. So I think in terms of where we are tonight, you certainly could approve the resolution and give us direction. There is work to be done. We need to work with Blake. And I know you brought aboard Greg Magnuson, who I've worked with before as a consultant. You may have an interim CBO, I'm not sure, but we could certainly work with whoever the appropriate district personnel are to complete the preliminary official statement that's just being approved tonight in form and secure the credit rating. And then you could give us direction again on whether you'd like us to just get whatever the best is we can do in terms of savings, or if there's still a hard target that you would like us to reach. So wanted to just bring you up to date, give you a little market status report, and be available to answer any questions or be helpful in any way that I can this evening.
Was there, the last time we spoke, was there a goal benefit to reach? There wasn't there? 5, right?
Yeah, $5 million was what was the goal at the last meeting. Yes.
Yeah, we have a policy, right? There's 4 criteria points typically that we want to meet. I think last time you presented, Tim, we would meet 3 of the 4 at the time in January because the market had changed. What would we meet as of today in terms of that criteria?
Right. So one of the criteria was the transaction costs be less than 1.5% of the amount of bonds. And I said, virtually under any scenario, check that, we'll meet that. There was one that we agreed is really mathematically impossible to reach. That's the top 10 taxpayers get 3 million. We threw that out. Then there was one about the average homeowner, $300 over the life. And that's extremely variable. We would not hit that today. At $5 million, we would just by a smidgen, couple dollars either way, be pretty close to hitting that. But as we sit today at 4 million in savings, we'd be closer to 200 than 300 in terms of that one. So I think we zeroed in on the 5 million because we figured if we hit that, we'll hit the homeowner. We're going to hit the transaction cost parameter. And the other one just was from a, years ago might have been reasonable, but the way the tax base has changed. So that's, I think, when we adjourned in the January 20th meeting, it seemed to be the feeling of the board. So we're a little short of the 5 million. It's about 4 million today. Now it could be 5 million in 2 weeks from now. So we could certainly continue, proceed, do the work, and then, recalibrate, as we go along. But just, Wish I had better news, but rates have ticked upward a little bit since the last meeting, or the last meeting in which I
their prognosticators are aplenty and pundits are often wrong. Is there a prediction? Is there obviously we've seen the trend going up. With world events, I don't know what that's likely to do to bond rates. I don't know that anybody knows, but is there a candid likely scenario in which they don't continue on this path?
I mean, it's a great question, Neil. I think if in terms of the international tension, generally speaking, if there's trouble abroad, that lowers interest rates, because if investors take their money out of risky assets like stocks and put them into the safest assets possible, United States Treasury securities and municipal bonds.
Yeah.
So since the invasion of Ukraine a day or two ago, rates actually ticked down a little bit. In terms of inflation in the Federal Reserve, something's already baked into the cake. Everybody knows the Fed this year is going to raise rates a number of times. There's a little uncertainty as to by how much, how many times, and how soon. I think, Neil, if you asked most people, I think they think it's more likely rates may trend upward than downward, but that's a big what if. I don't think there's clear. We had a bond sale in the market for a school district, very similar to our credit rating, San Diego County School District, day before yesterday. It performed well. So there's definitely cash out there to be put to work. I would say I think it's worth continuing to do the work, which mainly is get a credit rating and complete the offering document. Will we get to $5 million in the next 2 or 3 months? Hard to say. Do I think we're going to be at zero? No, I don't think that. But I think I'd be hard. I just wouldn't really, it's a little uncertain as to a month from now. Would we be at 5 million, 4 million, 3 million? All the prognosticators would say it's hard to guess.
Can I ask a question about the other 16 million in bonds that are not being refinanced under the current proposal? Is there a scenario in which those ones would come back into play in some way? You said there's like 40, or maybe it's slightly more than that. So it's like 49 million, but you're only looking at 27 million.
Yeah, absolutely. So if we were back a month ago where rates were then, those bonds would be back in business. It's just, we have a mathematical formula that each of those old bonds carries a different interest rate. So it's sometimes you get a tipping point where including them actually costs the taxpayers money. So we automatically kick them out. But if rates were back to where they were when we had that January 20th meeting, they'd be back in. If they were in today, savings would actually be less than 4 million. They would detract from the savings. So that's just, a mathematical equation.
I'm assuming it's because those bonds were financed at a low rate, so we're not improving the rate.
100%. We have some old bonds that are at 5%. Those get the first call. Then the 4.5%ers, they get the next call. So at some point you get down to bonds that, let's say, carry a 3.75% rate. They may not be worth it today, but they might be worth it a month from now. Right. So what's in the resolution is really the top number. We can always go down, but we can't go back. We can't go higher than what the board gives authority for. So that's why in the resolution, we put the highest number possible.
Dr. Silvers, given the back office requirements and demands, your thoughts here? Don't mean to put you on the spot. I'm just trying to get a reality check.
No, that's good. I think that I would ask the board to let us do some work on this and work with Tim, as long as, you all are comfortable with us doing the work, and we can bring it back to you and we can just monitor it. I'm comfortable moving forward, Dr. Goldman.
And then what costs do we incur? And I know, Tim, you've told us it's in the past, but sorry to reiterate, but if we don't proceed, we're not interested in spending lots of money that got us nowhere.
Right. The only bill you would get if we just folded the cards for whatever reason, savings go to zero, we abandoned ship. The only bill you would get would be from the credit rating agency, and that's $20,000 or $30,000. Now, they'll often defer 3 to 6 months before they have to get paid. So let's just say in the meantime, we put a bond on the ballot in November, a new bond, and we win. Then we would say, listen, we're going to be doing a new draw on a new bond election, so just hold on. We'll roll the payment into that. But worst case, if we don't put a bond on the ballot, or we do and we lose, and for some reason, the rating agency just says, look, we got to get paid. Now, sometimes they'll discount it, but that's the only cost. For us, for the bond attorneys, no harm, no foul. If we don't proceed, you don't owe us anything. That's the only item where there could be a cost.
Board member, thank you, Tim. Board members, your thoughts?
Didn't I say that we should have refunded a few months ago? Just kidding. Just kidding.
Absolutely.
Just kidding. I appreciate Tim's presentation here. Unfortunately, the market is just difficult to kind of determine what it's going to do here. It's really unstable, and obviously, as Tim mentioned, the times here with regards to inflation and the uncertainty happening right now international, really just difficult to figure out what's happening. But I guess where my position is, I would like to continue to move forward with the work, but my hesitation is, I'm still kind of stuck on making sure that we meet that criteria and the criteria that we initially set out as a board jointly, which I think from the last meeting we were okay with meeting three of the four criteria. Right now, as Tim mentioned, we would only meet one of the four, and I'm just not, I'm not okay with that, and that has nothing to do with you, Tim. It just happens to be with the market conditions as you described. Sorry, Roger, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I think you were jumping in there at the same time.
Just comments there. I think in terms of the interest rates, I think that those are always a fluctuation there. The way I'm looking at it right now is that ultimately there's still savings to our taxpayers. It's right now it's 4 million. It's not as much as we thought, right? At 5 million. I think I'd be comfortable with us moving forward to see what the market would bear, see what would be that savings. And if it doesn't make sense and the rates go up, then we don't actually enter and execute the agreements. But I think if there is an opportunity to have a substantial savings, I still think $4 million is a good amount of savings for the district over the life of the bonds. And I really like the flexibility and the analysis of not executing, like, let's just say the full 49 and maybe just going to the 27, because that analysis is needed. And as you move forward, I mean, who knows, it might be less. And if that number comes down, maybe we'll be in a different situation here. We don't move forward. I think there has to be another check in between before the actual transaction goes through. And Blake, I would look to you as to be an integral part of that. But I mean, I would be comfortable moving it forward to the next step to see what it would bear.
Sure.
Joanne, you're on mute.
How many years have I done Zoom and I still can't do this? Okay. I have a question about the credit rating, and do we need to have a sort of current credit rating evaluation to do the bond anyway?
Yeah, Joanne, that's a great question. The answer is yes. Unfortunately, to put a new bond issue into the market, you do have to get a credit rating. Even though we have one on the books, it's updated from time to time. But for investors to be willing to participate, we have to go through the process.
How current does that have to be for a bond?
Boy, that's a great question. Normally, once you get a rating, it has a shelf life of about 90 days.
Oh, wow.
Right, about 90 days. So at the 90-day mark, so let's say we get the credit rating, we don't like the market, 90 days passes, and then the market's there. What we would do, Blake, is we would jump on a quickie 10 or 15-minute update call with the rating people. But from the time we get the rating, if we actually go to market within 90 days, we don't have to talk to them, but usually it times out. Doesn't mean we're paying more. It just means we gotta update them and do a conversation and let them know if anything's changed.
I guess my hope was if we did that, if we went for the credit rating and incurred that cost, that it would still be money well spent to, if we go for a bond in the November election. But it sounds like it's not going to last that long. Like you said, the shelf life or the currency of that credit rating doesn't last long enough.
Right. So, I mean, certainly a possible scenario is, Blake, looking at your recommendation. So let's say in the next couple weeks, Blake, we did some prep and we were ready to talk to the credit rating people. So let's say that puts us in mid-March. Let's say we get our credit rating the week of March 21st, let's just say. That would be the soonest that we could take the offering statement and put it out there for investors. So the soonest we could sell would be, let's say, the week of March 28th. Wow. That would mean we got the credit rate, we went through and we could do it sooner, but I'm just thinking, Blake, for us to be prepared and, go over the numbers and what we're going to say to the rating folks, and you figure out, the personnel from the district side that's going to assist you. Maybe we could shorten it by a week, but let's say it was the week of the 28th. That gives us, I think, plenty of time to continue to check in with the board. And then we'd be, a lot closer. If we're within a week of when we're ready to sell, then maybe we could think again about, is it 5 million? Is it 4 million? What is it? But, that would probably be the way the scenario would play out. There wouldn't need to be any more formal actions for the board. There can be, market check-in. We don't need to do anything with the County of Los Angeles. So it's pretty much, Blake, two tasks on the district side. The credit rating prep, and then the actual, we would do a Zoom with them. And as I mentioned last time, to streamline the process, Blake, we'd get questions in advance. So you're not surprised by anything, and we'd go over those. And then completing some of the missing information in the offering document. So that's really all that's on the docket. And, we're here obviously to help you and your team any way we can.
The only thing I would add to this is, we went through this, and Joanne, you may remember early on when I first joined the board, when we went through this refunding process. One of the, we have to have consensus on the board because we're kind of straying away from the criteria possibly. We have to have a consensus on where we're as a board, where we're at and what we're willing to do in terms of moving forward with the refunding. So we can move forward obviously with this resolution and continue the work. And obviously we need the rating. But what happened to us early on, if you remember, Joanne, because especially right now with the market conditions being volatile at the time, and I think it may have been Tom, but we had the board president that attended with Blake when we needed to make that decision on selling because the market was changing. So we would have to have some, because what'll happen is, I think once, correct me if I'm wrong, Tim, once March 21st comes, and so we have a rating, at that point, if the market were to change significantly or in favor of us, in favor of Weisburn, we might have to act pretty quickly, right? In terms of taking advantage of that rate. So we have to have consensus on the board if we're kind of straying away what we're willing to do, right?
100%. What we would want is we would want you to give Blake and myself direction, consensus of the board, so that if a day comes and whoa, we can meet our target, we're ready to go. We wouldn't have to come back to the board and have the time delay. And that direction is the pleasure of the board. It could be everything from get the best you can to here's a firm number. If it's $1 below that, don't go. And I think, Nelson, just getting back to the parameters, I think that that one again about the top 10 taxpayers that's just impossible.
Yeah,
yeah,
it's not going to happen given the circumstances.
I think that the total dollar amount of savings is probably the easiest one for us to execute. And then we'll know for the homeowners that they're very closely related. Whatever we get in terms of the big number, we'll pretty much know for the homeowner. But you're absolutely right. We would, the best practice I think would be we get consensus of the board, you give Blake and myself direction, the go, no go is here. And then if that day is April 3rd or May 4th or whatever the day is and we can hit it, we hit it. Yeah.
One last thought here is if we are going to proceed tonight, and I know it's coming up, I would encourage us to, if there's a win at all, continue, because otherwise the $20,000 for the rating agency is on the district. By doing it this way, it's covered into the costs of the refinance and thus saves us that money. So that's a win for us and a potential loss if we don't. The other issue that comes to my mind, and this is not for this bond, but maybe for the future, is we're hoping what our credit rating is. I think it would be instructive for us, not at this meeting certainly, but to have an understanding of how that is calculated. We've had conversations about increasing our reserves. Is that part of this equation? What goes into that bond rating, and do we have any control over it? Because that certainly is of interest to us in getting the best possible rating.
Sure, Neil, I can happy to do that at a future board meeting. I can go through the rating factors, the rating criteria, what is within the board's and the district's ability to influence the rating, what's outside and tax base and community dependent. Happy to do that at some point.
Okay.
Sure.
Any further conversation? This has been a healthy conversation. Thank you for the information. Any other thoughts from anybody on the board while we have Tim? We're not going to take the action item now, but here's your chance for Tim.
I wanted to revisit something you just said, Neil, to make sure I understand. So the cost for the credit rating, if we do refinance the bonds, is covered in that refinancing?
Yeah, it's rolled, Joanne, and it's a transaction cost. It's rolled into the
rolled in. You still pay for it, but it's
and included in the savings.
No, I understand we pay for it.
Yeah.
I just, it's considered a closing cost, if you will.
It's considered a closing cost. Yeah,
okay.
100%.
Yeah. So, so if we go for the credit rating and then we don't refinance, it's a cost that we just incur.
It's a cost we incur. We try to get it discounted. We put off as long as we can.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, I got it. Thank you.
So that was my point, was let's keep that in the equation. If we're still saving the district, saving our community members money, which is our goal here, it's also relevant to save the district money as part of that package.
Sure, and I get it.
Yeah.
All right. Tim, thanks for hanging out. We know it's late.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate the information. Appreciate your work here.
My pleasure. Have a great rest of the meeting. Glad to be helpful. Blake, if you want to follow up tomorrow at your convenience, I'm free.
Great. Thank you,
Good night,
sir.
everyone. Thanks so much.
Good night, Tim.
Thank you.
Sure.
Heady stuff, guys. We'll just hope for the flight to safety and we get lucky on rates. We'll have that conversation fully when we get to that item shortly. We are on minutes, item 8. We need a motion for the February 10th and February 17th board meeting minutes.
You have a motion?
Thank you, Nelson.
I'll second.
Thank you, Joanne. Ms. Subaki, a vote, please. And Ms. Hamburg, you know this, but you can certainly abstain at your discretion.
Mr. Benuelos?
Aye.
Dr. Goldman?
Aye.
Ms. Canetta?
Aye.
Mr. Martinez?
Aye.
Ms. Hamburg Cappy?
Abstain.
Thank you.
Action items general, item 9, approve comprehensive safe school plans. This was Kevin, Mr. Coronet's presentation. Motion, please.
You have a motion?
I'll second.
Thank you both. Any further comment?
No, great work, great plans.
Yeah, and well presented.
Well
Thank you to
presented.
everybody.
Ms. Subaki.
Mr. Benuelos,
Aye.
Dr. Goldman,
Aye.
Ms. Canetta,
Aye.
Mr. Martinez,
Aye.
Ms. Humberg Cappy.
Aye.
Item 10, action items, facilities. Approve license agreement with Chevron Products Company. A motion, a second, and then Dr. Silver's an explanation.
Sure.
Need a motion, please.
I'll motion.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Thank you, Roger. Thank you, Joanne.
Okay, good for me.
Yes, please.
Okay, so just a quick comment on this. We're actually approached by our partners at Chevron. They've been really, really good partners to us over the years, and they have a need for a parking, very short-term parking solution. And they have asked that if they could utilize our 135th Aviation site as to be that. And so, we wanted to bring to the board an agreement for the use of that facility. What's not outlined in the actual agreement itself is there will be the majority of the use is going to happen between 5 and 7. So that would be 5 to 7 a.m. and then 5 to 7 p.m. That's when you're going to see other two shifts sort of roll over, in the 24-hour period. So kind of looking forward to doing this. I was actually going to ask Wendy to are we able to bring that agreement up? We have been going back and forth with our attorneys. So this actually was the original draft. There were very little changes to it from our attorneys and from their attorneys. Some that was not substantive, no real material changes. Some of it was very immaterial, actually. I do want to point out a couple of those, though, in section 3. There was a program there where, an item there where Chevron actually asked that if there was any violation or need to terminate the agreement, that the Chevron company would actually have time to reconcile, to fix or remedy the circumstance or the situation prior to us terminating the agreement. And our attorney recommended a 5-day response by Chevron. So we did include in a new agreement a 5-day response opportunity for Chevron to fix an issue if one came up. So if there's any violation of the contract. So offered that. Also want to point out section 4 is that there was any of the property is going to include some asphalt. That would be an asphalt ramp so that cars would be able to exit and enter without scraping the bottom of their vehicles, as well as altering the current perimeter fence. So they're going to keep a perimeter fence, but there may need to be a 90-degree angle one place or another angle at another place, but they would do that and keep it surrounded in the perimeter fence. So, but just wanted to highlight those few changes. Again, not material in nature. There were other edits to the document. Again, our attorney shared that they were not material. So, any
Blake,
questions?
I have a question. Wendy, if you could please scroll up to section 2. Right here. So that there's a licensing fee, which is great. That's the fee that Chevron will be paying the Weisburn $25,000 for it. There is a statement here, and I'm looking for it. The very last line, it does say that the licensing fee is inclusive of maintenance, custodial, and utility costs. My understanding is that Chevron would be paying for the maintenance of the lot while they're using it, any cleanup, which would be custodial. This is saying, the way I read it, this is saying that out of the $25,000 that they are paying us, that we are supposed to do that. I would not want to for us to maintain the lot while they're using it. I think that should be part of their responsibility to have the upkeep. And I believe there was another section that actually talked about that they were going to do it anyway. It's just that this section here too, in that last line, is inconsistent with the other paragraph, and I should have made a note of it. I didn't. But I think that this should be just a licensing fee for us to receive as the fee for them to use the lot or the space.
4C, Roger.
I had the same question. It looks like that $25,000 will be deducted to pay for those items, the way that's written.
Right.
I can clarify that. I mean, my understanding is that they were not gonna, that they're not, we're getting $25,000 and there's gonna be no maintenance on the part of the district that they are maintaining. I did have a conversation with Lily Craig about that. Their plan is to maintain the parking lot, to do all the day-to-day custodial or maintenance work on it, that the district would, and that they would return it to the district in the same or better condition than when it was, than when we turned it over to them. So certainly I can clarify, this is item B, is that correct?
It was section 2, but I think Rebecca mentioned that it was the payment was in 4B, but this agreement actually I just noticed has 2 4Bs. There you see that there's a B and the second B.
Yeah,
So the second B talks about the maintenance and cleanup. So I don't think there's going to be a pushback on that. I think it's just inconsistent in the agreement.
Got it. Okay. I will reconcile this, and if we can just maybe take action with some edits, I can be sure that we clarify that with Chevron Company.
And they're also making some significant investment in improving the property, dirt, whatever it's called, to keep it on the ground. I forget what that's called, but
it's like a binding type material.
So this is a terrific opportunity for us. Really grateful to Chevron. And any other comments before we vote?
Just to be clear, Dr. Goldman, this is a license agreement as opposed to a lease agreement. So this means that the district does have right to basically to terminate this agreement at will. So just want to also stress that as well.
Yeah.
Thank you. Ms. Subaki.
Mr. Benuelos?
Aye.
Dr. Goldman?
Aye.
Ms. Canetta?
Aye.
Mr. Martinez?
Aye.
Ms. Hamburg-Kapi?
Aye.
Okay, action items fiscal. Let's, due to the conversation, let's take 11.1. Can I have a motion for that independently?
You have a motion?
Thank you, Roger.
You have a second?
Thank you both.
So can I help me understand exactly, if I vote aye on this, what have I agreed to?
Sorry, I'm off mute. So if you vote aye on this, Joanne, you would basically be agreeing to us moving forward to get the credit rating, to do all the work needed in order to do a refunding, and that we would try and stick to, and we would make our best effort. I mean, I heard Dr. Goldman share that if there was any savings to the district and that the $20,000 or $30,000 cost of the process or of the we'd want to try and make good on that. So we're going to do our best to do the refunding. And at some savings to the district. Obviously we can't, we just know it's volatile right now. So we just try to be really prudent in our approach. And certainly I'd stay in touch with the board president, Dr. Goldman, make sure we communicate with the board appropriately.
Is there another checkpoint, or is this where we make a decision and then we go for it?
I mean, I think I'm the checkpoint, sort of. I'd be filtering as best I can, but no, there would be no other official checkpoint other than my continued communication with the board.
And that was my point, Joanne. I think that we need to have a conversation on where we have consensus. That was my point, because ultimately what it's going to happen is that Blake will probably, it's going to happen so fast that Blake will have to communicate probably with Neil, in this case, as being the board president, because that's what we've had before, and move on it. So I think as a board, we probably need to have some consensus, because we are straying away from the parameters that we agreed to.
Yeah, and I'm concerned about what kind of time is required on the part of the district with the consultants that we have on site to do our financial management at this point, that there's an extra cost in doing this work, because it's going to take additional consulting dollars for the extra staffing that we have coming in. And we all know interest rates are not going down because the Fed is raising them. That's a given. So
So Joanne, would you maybe want to consider maybe we modify this our motion maybe to kind of address your maybe some of the concern, because I have the same concern, is that maybe we can move forward with this resolution with the condition that we have either revisit and have consensus on the parameters that we've set as a board before, or have some form of checkpoint prior to another checkpoint with regards to this. I don't know. I leave it up to you, but I kind of have the same reservation.
Yeah, I definitely have reservations. So without another checkpoint, I will vote no.
So to that, point, that was the question I was asking Dr. Silvers about back office, to the same point you're making. So maybe I wasn't clear, and Joanne, you said that better. My question to Dr. Silvers is, do we need an action item in which we change those parameters, or is discussion enough? It feels like it should be an action item to me, but I defer to you and your expertise.
So you're speaking specifically of this item or the back office item?
No, I'm speaking of the parameters, back to Nelson's point about our minimum parameters. I feel like that would give Joanne a sense that there's two things going on. One is, and by the way, again, to our community, this is not district money we're saving taxpayer money by this refinancing. However, the district will incur costs to make that happen. So these are the two things we're concerned with. My concern was in part that if we're going to go for this moving forward, to me, in some regards, even if it's any savings, I don't want the district to incur $20,000 in rating agency costs, and that's built in here. It's baked into those costs. So to me, it's kind of like, almost if we save anything, I would vote for it, so we don't incur extra costs at the district, because we're going to save money for the folks. There's no downside. The downside is, how much does it cost in time and energy and distraction and opportunity costs does it cost us for the back office?
Yeah, I heard. I appreciate that comment. The question from Joanne. I did do. I talked to Tim, and it's right around 10 to 20 hours. I mean, 10 to 12 hours of work was the estimate. So, in the neighborhood of $2,000 to $3,000 in back office support was our estimate.
I would double that. I can't.
Or double, yeah.
2 or 3 hours. Nothing. So anyway. Okay.
And that threshold, would we want to just stick with that $5 million savings threshold potentially, and that's your checkpoint?
Personally, I don't think we're going to be at $5 million. I think that would just be a no, saying that we would go as a potential compromise. Hearing the conversation here of the board, maybe if there's consensus, I would propose that we move forward with a minimum of $3.5 million refi or interest, savings to the overall district, because interest rates are going to change. Right now, the perspective is $4 million savings, right? Is it going to go up a little bit? Can it go down? Quite frankly, I don't know. I'd like to see if we can do some savings. To me, $3.5 million is still substantial for a $20,000 credit rating cost, right? And if it goes through, then there's no net cost to the district, right? If the savings is $3 million or $2 or something really low, then I think at that point it's time to call it off, and we don't have that. So I would also propose that part of that check-in is that we authorize Blake and to coordinate directly with Neil to make that decision, as that information, as our board president, Neil, as that information is coming in. So, because it's not going to be the 5 of us making that decision as the interest rates and the quotes are coming in. That's typically not how it's done. There's literally a call with the underwriters, and that's where Tim Cardy, the financial advisors, and everybody comes in. Decisions have to be made. And I agree with Nelson, maybe if we're open to revisiting the parameter of about 3.5 million, we can move forward with it. So that would be my recommendation, so that see if there is an opportunity for savings.
Yeah, I just don't remember everything, but I think we probably just need to revisit those parameters, because we set those parameters in place for a reason. And remember, it's not just the client, it's not just the rating, but it's also all the other costs associated with it, right? So we got to make sure it makes sense. So we probably should revisit that. I like the idea of doing an action item just to make sure that we're all on the same page, from my perspective on the parameters. And I think we can do that and still move forward with this resolution, but with a parameter checkpoint that maybe comes before the board next meeting, right? That we agree to. And because Tim Carty said it's not going to happen any sooner than March 21st, most likely, right?
What I recall is that date would be the earliest that they can actually sell the bonds and do the refi.
Right.
So I mean, all the action steps need to happen now in order to get to March 24th or March 24th or 28th. Although if we kick it out, say by a month, then we're looking to like April or May.
Yeah. So I misunderstood. I guess I misunderstood him. I thought that the quickest we can get a credit rating was that March 21st. That's what I thought. So, and you need a credit rating to go ahead.
And I think you get it sooner, but we can get to market.
Okay.
Is it possible, and maybe this is heresy, we're trying to save our taxpayers money. We're trying to save our community money. That's the purpose here. We're also, any costs that we incur at the district level effectively cost the taxpayer money. It's not funds we can use for our kids. Is it possible to roll any district administrative costs for reimbursement into the fund? It's so immaterial, it would have no impact on the cost of the fund, that would cover all our costs and make this, our concerned about cost here, kind of moot. Is that legal?
I don't know. I would have to check into that, Dr. Goldman. I would say probably, I mean, doesn't seem like it, but I could certainly look at it and get that information back.
Just trying to create a win-win here for everybody.
Yeah, I understand.
Blake, I believe we might be able to add consultant cost as transactional costs, but not district time. But if you could check, so for example, if we have the sub-consultant here, oh my goodness, what's his name? Edie Bailey, right? If we're going with that firm for that, I believe that might be proper because it's a consultant outside, but I don't know the answer to that. That's kind of what I recollect from prior bond measures. Like for example, our underwriters, financial advisors, all their costs, their consultants, those costs are included in that, right?
Yeah.
So if you can maybe work with Tim Carty or our legal and just find out.
Sure. Yeah.
And what I'm struggling here with is, for example, Tim had to, he had to reduce the refunding because of the market opportunity, right? The refunding out, he would only refund, I think, 27 million as opposed to the 49, given the market conditions today. So I don't know what that means, Roger, in terms of if we could only, if the market conditions worsen and the $3.5 million would go to the residents. I don't know where we fall, right, in terms of what is that, would that even work? I don't know, right? Because he looks at the total bond dollar amount, right? So it just depends on our bonds and when those series were sold, right? So right now, the only thing that makes sense to him to refund is that $27 million. If a month from now that market condition worsens, I'm not sure how that works. If it would even ever get to the $3.5 million, it may not even make sense to refund it from his perspective. I just don't know. I don't know enough.
Yeah, correct. The way I understood it is that based on our previous criteria, the $5 million related to a $300 savings per homeowner, right? If we sell at 27 million, his number that he shared with us was about $200. So
over 19 years, as I recall.
Over the life of the
so it's not like $200 a year.
Right.
It's
like
$200 over a 19-year period.
Correct.
And the same would be the 300, right? That would also be the same, whatever that.
So it's like $2. Right, it's less than
I thought it was
$20.
15 years. I'm remembering it as 15. It was either $15 or $13. Yeah,
I think it was about $13. I thought.
Yeah, yeah.
Right. So the primary benefit goes to the industrial base in our district, not so much to the sort of average taxpayer, if you want to call it that. So, but every dollar saved is better than a dollar spent. So,
Right.
Anyway, I feel like we're taking a lot of time on
let's
something
bring this
here.
to a vote. So we need to understand what the parameters are at a minimum. Do we need an action item, or we just need an advisory?
I'm going to vote no without an action item. Just so you know.
We need an action item.
I just think we need to figure out. I think we just need a checkpoint that so that we're all on the same page.
Yeah, we need to know what that checkpoint level is.
Right.
Because
Right.
we can't add an action item to today's agenda.
Yeah, it
I mean, we
has to
could
be at our
certainly
next
bring
board
one back.
It would have to bring another meeting.
Yeah.
Let's
Yeah.
do
I
that.
should just, I mean, whatever you guys want to do.
Or you give parameters and direction to staff, and we would follow those as if it was as if it was an action item. I mean, we wouldn't deviate from your direction at all. So I mean, we could do that if you want to set some parameters tonight. I mean, and just direct us to do it. We can do that as well. But
to me, I like Roger's 3.5, but candidly, to me, if it's $2 million, I know this isn't great, but if we're going to be incurring costs that are consultants we could roll into the loan, the refinance, that the rating agency would be paid for, it makes no sense not to proceed with that in my mind, because we've incurred costs for no reason that can be reimbursed. So to me, if we're going to proceed with this, I would vote for a $2 million minimum. And that's not terribly exciting, but we're talking $35,000, $40,000 potentially we wouldn't have to pay, and our taxpayers still save money. Everybody wins.
What do you mean we wouldn't have to pay? What are you talking about? We don't have to pay?
We would be reimbursed by the refinance. So yes,
For the you mean for the credit report?
And for the consultant, assuming we can do that.
Well, we don't even need the credit report if we're not doing this.
No, I'm saying if we were to pursue it, then I would want us to pursue it and fund it, because then we're reimbursed and the taxpayers are still saving money, even though it's not a ton of money.
Yeah, I think Neil, that we could talk about like whether it's if it's $4 million, what that would mean to the taxpayer over a 19-year period, maybe $13 or whatever. But I guess the concern I have is I don't want to do refinancing and ultimately, over a 19-year period, the taxpayer is saving $1 because of the cost of I mean, that doesn't make sense, right? So we need to figure out what are the costs attributed to doing this refunding. I mean, I don't think we have a good handle necessarily on that, because everything's changed, right? I mean, now we were going to initially refund $49 million. We're not doing that anymore because it doesn't make sense, right? So we're now refunding $27 million, saving $4 million to the taxpayer. I don't know what that comes out to, $14 or whatever. What are we willing to make sure that, and remember your costs, as you're refunding, your percentage of costs for the transaction is probably a higher percentage, based on, I'd have to find out from Tim Carty, we'd have to look at that.
So
He did
from
mention
the last presentation, Neil, that we had from Tim Carty, the transaction cost was 0.9% of the bonds refinanced. So if it's 49 million, it's 0.9% of that. If it's 27 million, it's 0.9% of that. I don't believe that he was going to, it would change.
Are you talking about the underwriting?
He said all the transactional costs. That was the spreadsheet that he shared with us. I don't have that PowerPoint, but that's my understanding of those transactional costs. It was 0.9%.
So
which
in
was
this agreement,
based on the value of the bonds.
In this agreement, Blake, isn't the transaction cost for the underwriting 1.5%? I thought that's what I read.
I didn't see that.
I could have sworn I thought I saw 1.5%, but maybe I'm wrong.
That's built into the savings. It's kind of a moot number because the $4 million includes the refinancing cost, the $4 million savings.
Yeah, but less credit to the taxpayer, Neil, right?
No, the $4 million is the $4 million. Or the $3 million or whatever the savings is. The costs are built into the calculation of that number, as I understand it.
Okay.
Why don't we do this? We have a vote to take. I suggest we put an action item on our next meeting as to what the threshold is and go from there. Your thoughts?
I think I would prefer to get further information and get maybe total cost too.
Rebecca, are you speaking? I don't know if you're on mute.
Let me try this one. When you say next meeting, what meeting would that, like, what was the date of that meeting that this would come back if we were?
Isn't that a March?
Probably 2 weeks.
And
The
meeting?
first week.
March
Second.
10th.
March 10th.
We have the answer, the item before us, and sorry, we got to move along here, guys. The item before us is to whether or not we proceed with pursuing this.
So Dr. Goldman, just a thought is that, the board can approve the resolution today and request a report, from the district and further consideration of parameters. We can provide that to the board, at the time of credit rating. And then that sort of serves as a stopgap for us to bring back another option to the board.
But we still incur the cost of the credit rating then.
We would still incur the cost of the credit rating, yeah.
That's my conundrum.
But we can explore the consultant costs, over the next, until we have this reso, approved, we can't proceed forward with any type of exploration of this.
I think you need to call the question so we can,
Yeah,
we need to move on to these other action
Let's call the
items.
question. Let's take a vote. Wendy, let's take a vote.
Mr. Banuelos,
Aye.
Dr. Goldman,
Aye.
Ms. Canetta,
No.
Mr. Martinez,
No.
Ms. Hamburg.
Aye.
Moving on. Thank you. 3-2. Action items fiscal 11-2. Need a motion?
The motion to approve?
Thank
Or
you.
motion or discussion, right?
Second, please.
I'll second.
Thank you. Consultant contract with Ide Bailey. Blake, very quickly, what is just if you could tell us what this is for.
Yeah, I had shared with the board, we just wanted to do some work with our back office, our business office, and take a look at our budget. And this is just a healthy look at our budget support for our budget and our budget team process. So hopeful to bring on Ide Bailey for a little bit.
Thank you. I think it's a well-written contract.
Let's take a vote.
Mr. Banuelos,
Aye.
Dr. Goldman,
Aye.
Ms. Canetta,
Aye.
Mr. Martinez,
Aye.
Ms. Hamburg.
Aye.
11-3, ratify, approve miscellaneous receipts and purchase orders. Motion, please.
A motion.
Thank you.
A second.
Thank you, Roger. Any comments or questions on these? My only observation is in the new format, I don't think we have whether or not this is in the budget, which I think we used to have.
Oh,
and
yeah.
that is an absence for me that would be helpful. Not so much on the receipts, but on the payables. Were you going to pull that up, Wendy?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah, there you go. I mean, I'm assuming they are, but I don't know. So
Are you referring to the final column, Neil?
I'm referring to the amounts.
Oh.
Anything over 15, yes, but there's nothing outrageous here. Any comments or questions here? Let's call a question, please.
Mr. Banuelos,
Aye.
Dr. Goldman,
Aye.
Ms. Canetta,
Aye.
Mr. Martinez,
Aye.
Ms. Hamburg.
Aye.
Thank you.
Action 12, consent items 12-1 and 12-2. Motion, please.
You have a motion?
Thank you, Nelson.
I'll second.
Thank you.
Both.
There was a salary schedule in here. Is that something that's new? I don't remember seeing that in the past.
Yeah, so we did add this, Dr. Goldman, because we're consolidating all of the personnel items into one chart. So we just wanted to provide reference for the board in case there was questions as to what the cost would be to the district.
Got it.
We used to have it as an individual item.
Yeah, we see them saying at their typical rate. Here we have the reference to the rate. Got it. That helps.
Yes,
Thank you. Any comments or questions? Let's call a question.
Mr. Banuelos,
Aye.
Dr. Goldman,
Aye.
Ms. Canetta,
Aye.
Mr. Martinez,
Aye.
Ms. Hamburg.
Aye.
Thank you.
Action item 13.1, accept the final School Employees Association of California, the SEAC classification and compensation study.
Quick question, Neil and Blake, for the purposes of this item, the word accept means receive?
That's it.
Approve, correct?
Yeah, so I mean, we could do a presentation on this if the board wants us to do that. I think Dr. Dougal may be able to just explain it in a quick comment, but yes, it's just accepting the report as is. We're not making any financial obligation. There's no financial obligation to the district. Should there be any changes to job descriptions or anything of that nature, we would have to bring that to the board for formal approval. It's just saying that the study was completed and we're accepting this report. Kind of take or leave it, so to speak, right? We would be able to act on it as we see fit.
Okay, so accept is receive. We're not taking
received, exactly.
Understood.
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, Nisha, did I get that right? I just want to make sure that I didn't miss something. Do you want to add to that, or if the board wants us to do a presentation?
Yeah, it's a pretty short explanation, but yes, we are just accepting, receiving the report. Just a quick reminder is that we did the phase 1 and I presented at the July 2021 board meeting, and that was a compensation study. And the board at that time approved phase 2, which was to now look at specific job descriptions and update them. Some of our job descriptions are over 10 years old, and so they were referencing software programs and job requirements that were outdated. And so these are updated job descriptions. There are 2 new classifications. One of them is to split. We currently have a custodian / groundskeeper. And it was very evident that our groundskeepers have a very specific job description and our custodians have a specific job description. So there's 2 job descriptions there that were created.
This is just informing us. Is there any point of, do we need to adopt these at some point, or will you be?
So the next step is, after this report is accepted, I will be meeting with CSCA and they will be, go over the report as well. They will review the job descriptions, and then at that time, after they've reviewed them and approved them, then those job descriptions will at that point come back to the board for approval to update the job descriptions.
Great. So we need a motion and a second on this item.
And Dr. Goldman, can I just, one last clarification is that this was the product of a negotiation session with CSEA back in 2018 or 2017, 18. And so we're fulfilling a negotiation, part of the negotiations that COVID threw us off track a little bit, but now we're getting back to it. And this
is in everyone's interest to have clear, up to date, and
that's right.
Makes sense.
Absolutely.
Motion from someone, please.
I'll motion.
Thank you, Joanne.
I'll second.
Thank you, Rebecca. Vote, please, Wendy.
Ben Willis.
Aye.
Dr. Goldman.
Aye.
Ms. Canetta.
Aye.
Mr. Martinez.
Aye.
Ms. Hamburg.
Aye.
Thank you.
Any other upcoming events on 15-1? You can show
Around the block, April 30th. No.
We do, and that's not on here. We need to start remembering that. I know it's we need to advertise it. We do have Wintrum, which is really nice. It's going to be a virtual Wintrum, March 3rd. That's Dana's opportunity to kind of share the students' progress to date, and the staff will be offering that to the parents. So it's really nice, kind of a check-in for staff with the parents. We have a really nice staff development day. Thank you to the team for putting together a really nice staff development, day, teacher learning day, Friday, March 4th. So that's just around the corner. Also, it's not on here, is that Dana Middle School also that day will be receiving their Schools to Watch redesignation. This is a really, really nice recognition for the middle school.
When is spring break, Blake?
It is. Wendy, I'm going to ask you, is it the first week in April? I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's like April 4th through the 8th. It's something like that.
It is the 4th through the 8th.
It doesn't coincide.
No, I'm sorry. It's the 11th through the 18th.
18th, that's right. 11th through the 18th.
Because Easter's
I got
really
to update
late.
my calendar there.
Right.
Easter's like the 22nd. It's really late in April, so it does coincide with Easter, but Easter's at the end.
I thought Easter was the 16th.
Easter's the 17th.
17th. Right.
17th.
Yes.
So it does coincide.
And then we're
Okay.
off that Monday, so we're off on the 18th and then the 19th. So we have the Monday after Easter off, and then we were back to
Okay,
the office on the 19th.
thanks.
Sure.
All right. Any other items or agenda or material things to mention at this time? Hearing none, we will have a brief, I repeat, brief closed session for the board.
What time? It's like
it is-
8:55.
How about 9 o'clock? Will that work? Give everybody 5 minutes? Need
Maybe
longer?
9:02.
9:03 and 30 seconds it is.
Okay.
All right, at 8:55, this meeting.
Good night,
is-
everybody.
Thank you very
Good
much.
night, everyone.
Okay.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you,
Night.
staff,
Thank
for
you.
hanging in
Yeah,
there with
hanging
us.
in there. Thank you.